The forbidden loading screen. What's up, what's up? Did this go up? The heck? I think so. Oh my god. Okay. I'll extract. Hold on a minute. Let's take a bunch of these. Oh. Actually, let me keep this. Let me keep that, and you just take a bunch of these suckers right there. Yeah, take those. Alright, give me one of them. I got 45 of these things? Oh my god. I should actually just, like, define some of these. Actually try to get some artifacts that I actually need. Some perfect sets. Speaking of perfect sets... Life is in shambles. Always. Like, who is ever gonna use some of this stuff, you know? Like, that's gotta just be bad. Oh, you know what? Some of these actually are, but they're just saved because... the auto-lock thing. Are we ever going to get a redemption to physical? Like, is physical ever going to make a comeback? Be honest. I don't know if it's possible for physical to make a comeback. Maybe one day? Probably never? Oh. Probably never. Alright. I went too far. Ah, that can't be good. What up, MIG? Oh, Michael's Law, my fault. Got you. It was pushed out. Also, sometimes when I sit here and go through artifacts, I just talk under my breath. Oh, man. Doing some quick cleanup so I can go actually farm some artifacts here. Will we actually get anything good? That is the question. Probably not. Like an ER one of these is good. That's 20, that's 20. Oh my god. Those all rolled into HP. Those rolled into HP and defense. which may be good for others, but not for Sir Lohen. Oh my god, I don't even have really anything to level up on this guy. I could do one of these, but then again, those are all kind of ass too. Nothing super pressing that I got for him. Oh wait, you know what I think I got? I thought I got another piece for Nicole. Today, a new character teaser for Snezhnaya? I don't know, MIG, you tell me. You're the master. I doubt it. Ooh, oh, EM, damn. That literally all within the crit damage right there. Thought I was leveling up another. Was it this one? I might have been leveling this up. We don't really know who's going to be using this set yet. That's what's crazy is they have this artifact set in here, but it's like no new blessing may be obtained as you make your way towards Snezhnaya. Like, this is the Stellar Conduct set, man, and it's out ahead of time. Crazy. We don't even like. I just have all these in my inventory, and I don't know who the hell's going to use them. Sandroni's going to use them, probably. Character T should be either tonight or tomorrow. Oh, like the drip marketing you guys are saying? Sure. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't pay close enough attention to know. I kind of just see stuff the next day and I'm like, oh, or if somebody tells me about it, I'm like, oh. Other than that,
It's been getting quite busy recently. Come take a look. There will definitely be some.
other than that, I got no idea. I should really stop farming the set. I think, honestly, I'm farming the set way too much. I think I have decent enough Nicole pieces. That's a lie. But we don't really... I was looking stuff up for this set, and nobody really has stuff built around this yet already. But yet, a lot of people could actually use this. Like, I feel like people haven't tested with this set enough yet. Oh, wait. I can use that. Oh. Wait, what the hell? Wait, I already had one. How did that not roll into that? Oh, I got one here, too. Oh. Oh, because no flat attack yet. I need flat attack on these. Or I need 3. Attack, ER, flat attack. 7.0 new characters, betas release next week. So before we see the new character gameplay, they always release a character trailer. They've done this for each nation so far. Ah. So do we have any idea who the character is going to be? Like, do the leakers even know who the character's gonna be? Probably, right? Leakers know everything. Those assholes know everything. They know everything! Okay, I am gonna do this set. I don't care. I want my Nicole pieces. Correct.
I think not. Heaven's will. My turn!
Oh.
Stay away from me!
Rooster? Really? No way. Really? There's no way he's gonna be the first character. If that's what you meant. I don't know if I'm auto-correcting you. I don't know if that's what you meant. Like, what even is that? Palvina and Vodyanitsa. Oh god, we are in serious trouble, I'm telling you.
I live within you. Begone! Got enough? Nowhere to
It's gonna be just as bad as Natland when it comes to these goddamn names, man.
The abyss is burning!
Straight Busher. Busher every name.
Comes to the slaughter. Now's our chance.
Just gonna butcher every single name. Shit, hey, look. Give me some more shades, man. Give me some shades. Need some shade love. You know what I mean?
Devouring?
Heaven's will. Made my...
Bonk. Don't know how we didn't get Duran's ult, but we didn't.
A lament for the...
Oh yeah, now we're fried actually. Okay, everything's messed up now.
Now's our chance.
No fairy tale ending for you.
Is this guy?
Now's our chance.
All because we didn't get a Duran ult? Alright, there was one video. This is what we're actually here for. We're watching videos today. But I was doing my dailies first. But there's one video I was told explicitly to watch. And that is Ashikai's new video. Because supposedly, there's something in there that she says that I have been saying. And I need to hear what it is. I need to hear what it is. My guess is it's the... Considering it's a Temple of Space video, my guess is it's Shades being HP thing. That's my guess. But I don't know exactly what it is, so I was told to watch it, so I'm gonna watch it. I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it. There's a lot of random info about some other elements in kits too, but without names. Says a 5-star pyro female tall model is coming mid to Enchina's Naya. I hope it's Alice too. Oh god, I hope it's Alice. I hope it's Alice. I hope it's Alice. I would do anything for an Alice.
Add Ash. Thank you for Add Astra.
I feel like... Wait, what? 3 minutes? Are we so for real? Okay, we're waiting 3 minutes. Because otherwise I'll forget. I feel like Alice is also going to be a support like Nicole, but an absolutely cracked support.
Come take a look.
Because I don't know, that's kind of what the Hexen Circle does. They just kind of observe and, you know, support and guide. Like, that's what Nicole did as an angel and through the Hexen Circle. Alice, yeah, she's a border watcher, border patrol. But like, you know, he's still kind of supporting us through our journey in a way. They write stories, man. What do you mean by preparation? I'm watching videos. That's what.
All I could think about is
We're watching vids. We're getting up to date. We're watching the latest and greatest. You see that I was already criticizing Genshin for the NPCs being scantily clad in the land of the cold? I did not see this. Well, like Charlotte's outfit?
rebooting.
I saw people complain about Charlotte's outfit, saying it was too short when going into Snezhnaya, but I'm like, it's a summer event. People, I swear to God, people just complain to complain. That's all I saw.
Add Astro.
Come on. Wait, ow, what? The longest 2 minutes we've ever had.
Add Astro.
Yeah, we'll watch the Ashikai one. And then that Cryan dude had another video come out talking about the artifact set that we read. And I want to see his thoughts on it. Because I haven't seen anybody directly, besides maybe Reddit. I don't know. But I want to watch a video and get somebody else's interpretation of the artifact set. That'll be cool to watch. And then maybe we'll get to a DeWitt one in there. We'll throw a DeWitt one in there probably, because, I mean, come on. We haven't watched videos in a hot minute, you know what I mean? We got to throw a DeWitt one in there. I think probably the last time I watched videos was on release for this patch. And that was only like one or two. One or two short ones.
Haven't you?
We haven't really watched any long lore videos in a minute.
Error. Add Astro.
You get this pulled up. Bow, bow, bow. Actually, you know what? Maybe we start off with a DeWitt video. Get the vibes up and rolling. He's always on some crazy shit. And we got to get our mind eased into it before we watch an Ashikai video, because I mean, that girl goes hard, okay? She's gonna hit us with some ancient German references, probably. You know what I mean? She's gonna hit us with something crazy. Like, ancient Mayan shit somehow is gonna be in there, too.
Add Astro.
Oh, finally. Okay. Yo. Winter is coming. And I mean Snezhnaya.
The Adventurers Guild.
Wait. There was a Honkai Nexus Anima trailer with Blade? Why did no one tell me about this? How have I not heard about this? Have I maxed Nicole's friendship? No? Oh. Why? You get something? What am I at? I'm at 8. Check Nicole Border Pass. In friendship. The fuck does that mean? This? Border pass. Alice might have assured her that there would be no trouble and that they weren't going anywhere too far, but arriving at the border still meant going through the motions. Forms had to be filled and every required step followed. The only concession in this whole tedious affair was the 2 chairs they had to sit on. Nicole had to spend nearly an entire day filling out form after form before the thick little booklet known as the border pass became hers. The moment it landed in her hands, a warning followed. The book must remain absolutely immaculate. One oily spot.
Mondstadt really is the place to be. Can't wait to get my hands on some apple cider.
Hold on. Let me get out of this area, so I don't have Lowen speaking to me.
If you ever...
Okay, let's see. Sorry, border pass. One oily spot. Okay, the book must remain absolutely immaculate. One oily spot or fingerprint on its pages, and she would have to apply for a new pass. Fingerprint. And should she try to cross the border with a pass that is in less than perfect condition, she would be detained for all sorts of checks until the powers that be were satisfied. Interestingly, the very substance of the pass seemed to change depending on the person holding it. Nicole had already seen them come in stone, wood, liquid, vapor, a kind of non-chemical information carrier, and even light forms, de-energized for phlogiston. Must be really difficult to keep the border secure, Nicole reflected as she watched someone carrying an entire stack of clay tablet-type passes hurry by. Yeah, and that's why I try not to stay here any longer than necessary, Alice replied as she stepped over a rather wide stream of mercury. In turn, the flowing mercury spun once in a circle, as if to politely acknowledge her passage. The paperwork is the worst. I'd much rather be running around outside. Hey, Kleiner, over here! Alice sprang to her feet and waved vigorously. The figure in the distance, who was juggling 8 paper bags, waved back with equal enthusiasm. All right, the goodies are here. Let's eat first. Then we can go check out all the other fun things. The fuck are they at the fair? They at Coney Island, dude? I mean, there's no way you don't get a fingerprint on it. Kleiner was at the border at one point, but what the hell does that mean? It still doesn't help us figure out what the border was. Because Kleiner right now is still on another planet. Yeah, I know, right? It's busy, but like... That means that there's like stuff going on there. Like you can exist within the border. I'm telling you, it's just a little... I still have a feeling that the border is just these in-between areas that they were talking about when we did that event quest. You know how we had the bubble forming or whatever, and then that could have brought out the abyssal energy. I'm telling you, it's just little pockets like that, little fates that aren't realized. I don't think it's the border of the firmament. I don't even think it's the inside border of the firmament inside Teyvat. Yeah, you wouldn't really call that the firmament, but whatever. I really think it's just little pocket dimensions. Little pocket dimensions similar to the bubbles and their fates that aren't realized. I don't know. But it's interesting to see that, yeah, it's like you can exist there. And you can kind of walk through there. Is what it seems like. It's very weird, man. Very weird. Okay. Border pass. Well, that's what I mean. They call it the border, but it's like a... It's not a literal wall. Like, it's not like a border of cities. It's not a border of countries. It's not a border of Earth and space. It's like a location. It's a location. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, hold on, because now... Alright, Raiden, thank you for that. Well, Collider was mentioned in that event quest. The one I was just talking about, with the bubbles. I think that was Dern's patch? No. I don't remember what patch it was. But... Kleiner was mentioned there. Right? Yeah. Right? Yeah, because Alice said that he was off-world, and he was trying to come back, but he couldn't come back because of some problem that they were running into, so he couldn't actually get across the border. Right? Something like that? I don't know if she said border in that scenario, but something happened where he couldn't get in. Too many things were going on. Yes, too many disturbances at the border that he couldn't get through, I think. I believe so. I believe that's right. That sounds right.
But we grew up together after all.
So yeah. Okay. Well, we were gonna start off with DeWitt, but actually I'm seeing this right now. And there was a Honkai Nexus Anima trailer with Blade on the thumbnail. All right, Lowen, time for you to be quiet, buddy. Time for you to be quiet, buddy. Evolution teaser, Until We Meet. They said that beta was coming out soon, right? I'm gonna watch Cryans. I'm gonna watch Cryans after. I wanna watch this. Oh, whoops, I don't have my sound on for the browser, hold on.
With the championship qualifiers right around the corner, the renovations around Ia are in full swing.
I mean, is this like the... I haven't watched any trailers for this yet, besides like the one from forever ago. So is this like one of the first big trailers for it? Oh my god, the characters look insane,
recognize
dude.
my own neighborhood.
Wow! Look at Yuko's giant money train!
Oh yeah, we're definitely playing this. I mean, we kind of have to, right? Wait, was that the Express? Dude, that's a 5-star character for sure, you already know it.
Show 'em! This is Nexus
He's got a Primo Gem on his collar. Oh, wow. Mocha is totally transitioned to this game instead. That's why we haven't seen him in forever. Oh, she's sick. Look, it's Blade!
And I shall answer with power to match.
Blade from Fortnite! He's playing Pokemon! He's just casually here playing Pokemon! Evolution test recruitment begins June 22nd? Wait a minute. That was yesterday. What? 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 Do you think I'll... All right, listen. I tried to get into the ZZZ one 3 different times, and they never let me in. Which is why I never played that goddamn game. So you want to know what? They better let me into this. That was the Astro Express there, right? Ooh. Yeah, it is. I mean, it makes sense because it's full, like, Honkai, right? So it's just... Like, it's confirmed just crossover. You know what I mean? It's all Honkai. It's all Honkai. But to see Blade directly in it with his character, like, or with his thing, what is that called? That's so badass. This looks like a Ika. This looks like, what's her name's? Oh my god, hello? Hyacinth's Ika. You know what I'm saying? I can't think of the name of his character. Oh man, what Pokemon this is? What Pokemon is this, dude? I can't think of the name of it. I feel like it starts with a G. Look at, and they got Dottore over here too. Look at, that's Dottore. Look at. Oh. Wait. Oh my god. Why does this do this? Look at Dottore. Tell me that ain't Dottore. That has to be Dottore, right? Like, there's no, like, that is Dottore. You like Auto Chess TFT? Never played TFT. Auto Chess? The hell is Auto Chess? Did I just leak my shit? Oh, god damn it. I can complete the questionnaire. I got this. Oh, Jesus. Hold on now. Hold on now. Of the following games, which have you played? Genshin, Honkai, Star Rail. What is your adventure rank in Genshin Impact Max? What is your max? The following genres of games have you played before? Management, party, strategy, MMOs. Yup, I played that. Creature Pal World counts. Romance games, hell nah. Puzzle cat. I mean, everyone's played a little bit of Candy Crush, you know what I'm saying? Sandbox, absolutely. Roguelite, absolutely. TCG deck building, no. MOBA, no. Idle? Oh, yeah, no. Strategy, yeah. Open world for sure. Shooters, absolutely. Auto chess. Yeah, I don't know what auto chess is. I don't know what that means. That's not like there was probably a HSR event like that, right? That was auto. The following games which have you played continuously for approximately 1 month or more. Who the hell would play Monopoly Go continuously for a month? Can some... Hold on, we need some background music here. Hold on. Oh wait, when does the Hoyo Fair stuff start? To watch that stuff too at some point. Oh yeah, no, none of these. Yeah, none of the above. No, I never played none of that. I don't know how you play Monopoly Go for a month at a time. Like, that's insane. More than 20 hours? Oh, Pal World, for sure. Elden Ring, unfortunately, I never played Elden Ring. Kind of sad, right? RDR2, Grand Theft Auto, boom. Which of the following is most important to you? Collecting, story. I like a little bit of puzzle solving. Progression and exploration. I think if I had to pick top 5. I think that's what I had to pick top 5. How much have you spent on games per month on average over the last 6 months? I don't really spend that much. I don't spend as much as you would think. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm like in this range. I never did Elden Ring though. Like I played Dark Souls. For some reason, I just never played Elden Ring. I was playing other stuff when that came out, and I still have yet to play it. Which devices will you primarily use for the test? iOS and PC. Which of the iOS do you primarily? 17. Next. What is my CPU model? AMD Ryzen 9. Right? What the hell is the AI series? Wait, is my shit outdated already? What the hell is the AI series? I don't spend that much. 150 is even high. Like, to be honest with you. What graphics card model? 5090. Oh. Yeah. Wait. That's not mine, though. Okay, whatever. RAM. Yeah. Do you learn to use about new games? YouTube. Reddit. Twitch. Twitter. What are primary reasons to want to participate in this test? It's a new Hoyoverse game. Gameplay includes capturing and collecting creatures. Sure. Does sound good. Boom! Now, am I in? Am I in? Predictor, what are you talking about? Well, I can't leave for a couple days, brother. What's the matter? I can't leave for a couple days? Hey, Predictor, tell me, what Pokemon is this? What is Blade's Pokemon name? Be honest. I don't remember what it's called. Somebody's got to know what the hell that thing's called. Okay, I'm in their Discord. Let's customize. Oh my god. English. Yeah. Join. Finish. Oh, agree. Okay, am I in? How do I get in? Wait, is it open? Wait, are people playing it? Wait, can you stream it? Nah, there's no way, right? Wait, was this person... Wait! Oh no, they're playing HSR. It's closed. Oh, you can't stream it. Well, that's okay. I didn't. Look at this. Wait. Blade, the 22nd Novark. I hate this shit so much. Come on, can you just fucking... One of the Phoenix Breaker Novarks. He is searching for the missing 11th Sovereign. Oh. It's like a Pyro Escoffier, dude. Nah, she's sick. She's sick. By May. By May. Is that how you say it? Hung Grill? And Parayaya. So, do we even know when this game's, like, coming out yet? Or is this just kind of where we're at? Is it where we're at? Inky Corn. The Anidex. Oh, these are all the Pokemons. Oh, we gotta not call them Pokemons. What do we call them? What are they called? Animas? Animaster. No. Animas? Is that what they're called? Animas. I think? Probably? Is there any gameplay of this on YouTube? We have gotten so distracted. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Oh, in-game footage! Oh, shit, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, so this was just the... Okay. So, yeah, we watched this, but we never... Okay, so this is as recent as we are. Oh, hold on a minute, we got gameplay footage. Hold on, time out. God damn. Wait, what the hell's what am I looking at here? What is this? Is this like early version and now? Before, what? They could have put before and no, I want to see what the gameplay looks like, man. Oh my god. It's pink and purple. Oh, wow. Oh, photo mode, classic. Wouldn't be a Hoyo game without a photo mode. It's got a little X on the booty hole. I like the arm shit. Oh, fuck, you can fly? Sold. Oh my god. You can mount. Aw, she's carrying her little guy. Who the hell are you? Little squirrel rat. You can surf. Okay. All right. Well, that's just... What the hell's going on? Oh, careful. Go cool off, little buddy. Or not. All right. See you later. Okay, we got little racing games. Look at... Was that Blade just on the poster in the back? Oh, no, that's not him. It looks like him. Oh! Almost got hit by a car. Okay, I want to see the actual gameplay. I mean, that's as high as he can go. His arms were fully extended. Yeah, so that's exactly what I want. Somebody to spit on me. Okay, dance-offs. Okay, now, okay, hold on. Here we go. Oh, that's right. Oh, okay. Nah, that'd be cool. Yo, so look, I never really played turn-based game. Like, I did. I played Final Fantasy when I was younger. You know what I mean? But, like, after Final Fantasy, I couldn't tell you the last turn-based game I played other than HSR. You know what I mean? And I love HSR. So, just because I haven't played these games, it'd be a nice switch up to the style of game to play. I think I could like, this looks okay. Like, I feel like I've had these events in HSR and enjoyed these events in HSR when they do stuff like this. Yeah, HSR, yeah, I'm saying though, besides HSR. Like, is this like the, wait a minute, what about backpack battles? Does backpack battles count? I played backpack battles. You guys know backpack battles or not? Oh, Ika evolves into a long locked. That's Blade's guy. Oh yeah, GG. Okay, I can do this. No, I can do this for sure. Yo, wait. Oh, look at Blades. Oh, go away, go away, go away. I mean, this Blade guy, he doesn't even exist in that form anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, Blade doesn't even exist in this form anymore. Backpack battles? No. Okay. What is the HSR? No, what is that one game? Oh my god, where it's like you... I don't even know, bro. You guys have never seen backpack battles? Really? Okay, we'll watch Soda. We'll watch Soda. Hold on. This is backpack battles. Does this count
itself? Check arrow on coach.
So you get like a backpack and then you get items in your backpack.
Click arrow below couch. You can... That's pretty... Stun your opponent.
Hold on. Right? And then you fill it up.
Okay, let's go.
And that's your kit. And then you go battle a random person.
Jeez.
Does this count? As an auto chess type of game? Is backpack battles auto chess? Boom! So I have played a auto chess game. See the previous beta gameplay? Yo, it's fun. I mean, I could get a gist of the gameplay from that. Yeah, like, this is cool. Yeah, we've done these in Genshin and HSR. I can enjoy these events. I enjoy those events. So I think that'll be fun. It'll be a nice change of pace for gaming style. You know what I mean? I'm down with that. Super down with that. I can't think of that Pokemon. It's gonna drive me goddamn insane. Okay. By the way, good Kumyakyo. Huh? What? I'm an adult. Oh, they said it looks like ether. Is that what you were saying? I mean, crossover me. This is what ether ends up doing after he saves to that. He goes and plays Animus, not Pokemon. Animus. He's the 4th sovereign. Ah. Ah. Goddamn sovereigns. Master of reality and illusion. Illusion. He vanished during the Sundering. KK. Oh my god, another KK. Oh god, dude. What? They just love it, don't they, man? They just can't get away from it, bro. They just lock into this thing. These same concepts and just keep pushing it. Okay. Time to actually get started on what we're here to do. Now that we went on a Honkai Nexus Anima rant. Where the hell is it? Alright, true. Yeah. Alright. DeWitt thinks there's something wrong with Paimon. So we'll start with DeWitt's. And then we'll go to Cryan's, and then we'll wrap up with Ashikai's. Sound like a plan?
Folks, I believe it was 77 years ago, a terrifying premonition was declared to us by a visionary, no less, regarding Paimon. Forgive me for paraphrasing, but I believe the warning was something along the lines of, quote, this, of course, was said by
Sounded right.
the infamous Lady Barbeloth, and it was her reaction to trying to peer into Paimon's future.
Oh, she's talking about when Durin's quest, yeah.
Curious how accurate it is.
Very well, then.
We just did this like
I'll
yesterday.
show you what my wisdom can do. Come forth, Silver Sprite. Let me see what fate has in store for you.
Ooh.
You truly wish
Predictor!
to know
This isn't your
own
second stream.
fate.
Predictor, this isn't your second stream, buddy. Predictor!
Come on! Enough with the suspense already! Is it good or bad?
Oh.
Aw!
Now, we still don't know what this reaction's supposed to mean. You know, maybe she couldn't read her future, or maybe it was something so bad, so terrible, so...
Hey, Predictor, hey, hold on. Hey, hold on a minute. I need your assistance. I need you to predict Paimon, brother. How about that? Huh? How about you predict Paimon? Predict why Barbeloth couldn't give us an answer on Paimon's future. Huh? How about that?
Nasty. She was shocked into having a stroke, the latter option looking a hell of a lot more promising following the Snezhnaya preview teaser, which showed us something's wrong with Paimon.
She's cold. She's just cold. She's just cold.
Hunched over and sitting in a chair, she looks unwell despite
Oh my God,
attempting
wait,
to
she
play it
can't
off with a
fly.
smile. We hear her breathe like a diabetic before the shot seemingly switches to a POV shot of her and she falls unconscious. Now, aside from this being the first time we've ever seen Paimon sitting down, this is also the first time we've actually ever seen Paimon, sort of just be unwell in general. Prior to this, she's shown impressive resilience to the world of Teyvat, even in the most malignant of locations, like when we entered the forbidden knowledge-ridden mind of Greater Lord Rukkhadevata, where somehow the Traveler was feeling a little off, but Paimon was perfectly fine.
We'll be arriving at our destination soon. How are you feeling? Are your minds still intact? Huh?
No.
But everything's been completely normal for Paimon.
Now, while there are probably other examples like this of Paimon resisting effects that, she probably shouldn't be resisting, this does not mean she's completely immune to any and all things, as, let's not forget, the old Ettore zap anyone that's not a god to sleep device he stole from researchers, which managed to stop the Traveler better than when he had Trilune authority. Let's not forget, this thing also put down Paimon and put her right to bed. And also, most importantly,
Zonked out.
Paimon is still affected by changes in Irminsul, or, well, I guess Aru now, so while she's not this, perfect being akin to the Traveler in which nothing really affects them, better than most, Paimon is...
Yeah, 4 years ago, by the way. How long's it been since we got this little preview?
shown to be able to resist effects second only to, well, a Descender, which...
Literally
is not
4
normal.
years ago?
So to see her in, now, such a rough spot is telling about the situation in Snezhnaya, and really makes you wonder... what the hell are they doing up there? Now, my initial thought, and, well, my only thought, is maybe Snezhnaya has some anti-celestial warding device, or more generally a device targeting the constitution of celestial beings and or gods. We don't actually know what race the Tsaritsa belongs to.
No, it
but
actually
given the
makes
elf eaters,
sense.
It's probably Fae, even though she's treated the Fae terribly in the past. But odds
damn
are she isn't a
evil
god, or at
bunny.
least belongs to the race of the gods. So it could be the whole damn nation isn't welcome to gods at all. And at the start of this whole plan, the whole gnosis grabbing part of the plan anyway, she threw up some bullshit around the city to prevent disgruntled gods or archons from going to retrieve their gnosis. Now,
That would actually
even
be
Paimon isn't
interesting.
a god, as shown by the old Ettore zap anyone that's not a god to sleep device he stole from researchers, which managed to stop the Traveler better than when he had Trilune authority. This is
But to be fair, wouldn't somebody have told us about this by now? No. Somebody would have mentioned this by now, right? Unless nobody knows about it? I feel like it's something that would have come up in conversation just with Sandrone, and if not Sandrone, then Arlecchino. If not with Arlecchino, then Columbina. Columbina?
That's why I said earlier, anti-celestial warding device. Gotta cover all the bases, folks. This is how you never be wrong. Even more than disgruntled archons looking to retrieve their gnosis, the Tsaritsa, and by that virtue the nation, must surely have been on guard, and still is, from the potential interventions of Celestia themselves, the Shades. After all, let's not forget, the Tsaritsa's not exactly sitting here doing fucking covert operations. She's just stealing gnosises in broad daylight, and, well, the Shades not only know about this, but they laugh at the Tsaritsa's power. And they've said it's time they take action within the framework of the rules.
Ah, yes. He's an old acquaintance of mine. I'm sure that working for the Tsaritsa has helped him let go of his past obsessions.
No, I mean, Columbina would have told us about a ward around Snezhnaya. If there was one, and that's why Paimon feels affected. I mean, the only way that, she wouldn't have is if she doesn't even know about it. So maybe, it's something, if I'm just going off what he's saying, if it is there, maybe it's just something that only the Tsaritsa knows about. She didn't even tell the Harbingers, maybe.
The Cryo Archon. With her paltry powers, she dares set her gaze on the heavenly principles. For lack of a direct order, I say it's time we intervened. Of course, to the extent.
Dude, it's been
permitted
a
by the
year
rules.
since this came out, right?
Surely.
Isn't that crazy, dude? It's been a year since we got that? No way. God's Limit teaser. 11 months ago. No fucking shot. July 9th, 2025. Golly.
Surely, she and the nation do not just sit here and reason that all the violating of the rules they're doing and the stealing of the no seas that the Shades, at the very least, would do nothing, you know. Putting aside the mystery of how everyone seemingly knows the heavenly principles are asleep, I mean, what do they fucking announce bedtime? By what metric do they reason the Shades would not intervene at all under any circumstances? Well, obviously they're not intervening due to the nature of the rules, but how the fuck would they know down on the Earth? What kind of bullshit is this? How would
Wait, what'd he say? What?
By what metric do they principles are asleep? I mean, what do they fucking announce bedtime? By what metric do they reason the Shades would not intervene at all under any circumstances? Well, obviously they're not intervening due to the nature of the rules, but how the fuck would they know down on the Earth? What kind of bullshit?
I don't. Wait, I missed something.
Do not just sit here and reason that all the violating of the rules they're doing.
To the extent permitted by the rules.
What up, man?
Surely, she and the nation do not just sit here and reason that all the violating of the rules they're doing and the stealing of the no seas that the Shades, at the very least, would do nothing, you know. Putting aside the mystery of how everyone seemingly knows the heavenly principles are asleep, I mean, what do they fucking announce bedtime? By what
Okay, I see
metric
what he's
do they
saying
reason the Shades would not intervene at all under any circumstances? Well, obviously they're not intervening due to the nature of the rules, but how the fuck would they know down on the Earth? What kind of bullshit is this? How would they know the Shades are so tightly bound by these rules when...
Maybe Rhindaughter's leaking, straight up. Honestly, I feel like there's a connection. There's a line there. You gotta think. Alice is close with... I mean, Alice probably still talks to Rhindaughter. We can assume that Alice has probably talked to Saritsa. And Saritsa communicates with her people. Like, it's just been... drop down through the line. That's how. And who knows, like, when was the last time Alice was on the planet? You know? They could have had this conversation forever ago.
You know, the mortal world should have no way of knowing the fucking interpersonal dynamics of the heavens. Either the Saritsa is the most degenerate gambler to ever lived, and she just, you know, went with this plan on a fucking whim, or, you know, let's give her some credit, and maybe I'm giving her too much in this regard. You know, she put in place some countermeasures to prevent such an intervention.
I don't know. I feel like that's just simply explained by, honestly, Rhindaughter being involved with the Shades now. Like, you can easily say that her communications with Alice, and then it just ties down from there. Like, I believe that Rhindaughter probably still has a line with Alice. Like, if they want to talk, they can talk. You know what I mean? Like, no way.
Via the anti-celestial warding device, targeting beings from Celestia, which would include Paimon, maybe. Not because it's confirmed she's from Celestia or anything, but, you know, it's been heavily hinted at, you know, from her design matching celestial motifs to the string in the, you know, sky comment from that one little thing in Fontaine. It's been a while. I don't remember what the fuck those things are called, but, you know, the little small thing. It's all but, you know, a confirmed open secret at this point. She's some connection to the heavens at the very least. Now, as for how the Saritsa and Fatui would know how to ward off celestial beings, blue's clues. You know, maybe all that staring Piero does at Renova in his free time is really paying off, and he was able to look deeper and glean some truth about the constitution of celestial beings, or the Fatui just found a way. Do we know when the Saritsa became Archon? I think it was after the Cataclysm. Damn, I was going to say maybe she, you know, maybe one day on a meeting to Celestia, a firm handshake with Renova, just swiped up a bit of DNA and said, I might need this one day, but no, I don't think that's the case. Either way, I think probably when we get to Snezhnaya, we see Paimon isn't going to be doing so hot, we realize why, we request an immediate meeting with the Saritsa to drop the racism device targeting only a specific group of people. Saritsa says, okay. The Shades go finally, and then she immediately jumped by all the Shades, dies, and the game ends. So, you know, maybe it's something like that. Or the scene is meaningless and Paimon just has a cold or something like that. All Russian winter. Ask Napoleon how he feels about them.
Didn't work
Mystery
out
joke.
well for
Wouldn't
him.
be the first time this bait-and-ass company used bait on a teaser trailer. Just look at that fucking Captain Mawika incident, right? Where nothing came of that. So it could be nothing comes of this. Now, I know later in the trailer, the Traveler says something like, oh, you know, gotta get back to Paimon.
Yeah.
I don't think that means she was kidnapped as much as like, oh, you know, he left her in whatever this fucking apartment is, because, you know, we had to go out and play fucking Call of Duty, I guess. Still, gun in my head. It's about that time, folks. You know, the end game is near, so I think Paimon falling ill is due to her celestial ties. In what manner is that going to manifest?
Dude, I'm so hyped for the gun action.
Folks.
Dude, that's going to be absolutely insane. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a Celestial Ward. Personally, I don't know if I'm going to go with that one. Do it. I'm going to say probably not. Because if there was, I feel like we would have heard about it by now. But who the fuck am I? And they can do whatever they want, I guess. They could have, like, everyone just could have forgot about it. Everyone just could have been like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, don't forget about that. Don't forget about that ward that's there to keep all the celestial beings out. Don't forget about that. And we're like, huh? Huh? The hell you talk about celestial ward, sir? Oh yeah, the celestial ward that's been there for 500 years. What, you never heard about that? No, we haven't. I mean, look at what they did with the key to the spaceship. Okay, they just dropped that on our heads, and we were like, oh yeah, wow, it's been 5 years. Just realizing I got this key on me. Oh shit, how could I forget about that? So hey, don't put it past them to just drop something on our head. Okay. Cryand was discussing the artifact set. This guy's cool. I like his videos. And I want to see his take on this artifact set. After Cryand, we're watching Ashkai. We got the big Ashkai video. That's the main thing I was told to watch.
Alright, guys,
Cryand. Aliens control reality. Nicole and Celestial Gift lore breakdown. I don't know if I want to watch 2 videos on the artifact set. Kind of want to just go him and then Ashkai. So let's go. Plus, this is a 22-minute.
Alright, guys, I just read the Celestial Gift artifact set lore, and, this thumbnail I used for Luna 4 was way before its time, because this lore solidifies without question that the Genshin Impact universe is science fiction, at the highest level of technological advancement there is. Tavad is the outlier with its elemental magical powers, although at this point I would bet there's a scientific explanation for visions that the developers have holstered for the end of the story. Nicole has some cool lore too between her weapon and profile. The artifact set starts with nature of the universe stuff and then proceeds to the angels during the War of Funerary Flame. And Nicole's lore starts there and we eventually get back to nature of the universe stuff. Let's go through them back to back. The 5 pieces of the artifact set tell 2 different stories. Starting with the flower and then the sands, we learn the history of the Voyager. Then, in the goblet, circlet, and feather, we have the lead-up to the War of Funerary Flame from the perspective of the angels. So, if you want to give it a read on your own before continuing the video, that's the order, because I'll just be giving a summary of them before discussing the lore implications. So, let's get to it.
We already read it.
We start in the early days of the universe, when the first race of intelligent life learned to explore outer space. This continued for billions of years, and this race truly mastered interstellar travel, set up stargates, and could adventure through seemingly the entire observable universe. But then we have this line, the fate of the cosmos being severed thread by thread, and giants and dwarfs meeting the same end. You might be thinking of the fantasy races, but no.
Stars!
We're sci-fi now. It's talking about red giants and red dwarfs, which are the largest and smallest classifications of stars, respectively. But what does it mean by severing threads of fate? Is this the abyss? Let's continue. The next section describes the destruction. civilizations being erased, and entire galaxies evaporating into a void. We have a mention of the firmament, but in this context it's probably just referring to the common usage, in which it's just another term for outer space. The descendants of that first civilization spent millions of years trying to counteract this destruction, to the point of conquering time and space, which seems to mean they had the technology of time travel and the ability to go anywhere in the entire universe at will. Out of fear of what was coming, they then shut down
What about wormholes, though?
their stargates and retreated to a cosmic void to hide, which is a region of the universe completely devoid of galaxies. They conducted their research from there, scouring all of space-time to find a solution, including the very end of time itself. They found nothing. The universe gets destroyed by whatever this force is, and nothing can stop it. So, they gave up and decided to await the end by chronicling every other civilization that would rise and fall. The Voyager was one of these chroniclers, meant only to observe, but for some reason, upon seeing Teyvat as it was with Nibelung as its ruler, she awakened. So there is indeed an unstoppable force destroying the entire universe. We could assume that it's the Abyss, though that is still an assumption, because the Abyss hasn't been doing that great of a job destroying Teyvat, but maybe there's a reason for that. In any case, it also doesn't seem like a natural phenomenon. The universe is going to end at some point, when all energy is expended and all matter has drifted so far apart that existence no longer has meaning. But that's very slow and gradual and affects the whole universe at once. It's not something that's going to take the denizens of the universe by surprise, like this destruction is. Further, I'd like to put forward that this explains fate in Genshin Impact. A civilization looked at all possible futures in the universe. They know everything that's going to happen. That's fate. But before I theorize too much more, let's read the Sands. It first reiterates that the race of chroniclers continues to watch and record everything, despite knowing the outcome. Likely they are looking for any hope that their predictions might be wrong, as implied by the last paragraph. It also once again refers to them as descendants of the ancients. And if you think you know why I'm calling attention to that, you're absolutely right, so let's read on. We continue from the perspective of the Voyager, upon their second visit to Teyvat after Nibelung had left. As per her last visit, it was a newly born habitable planet, but now it lay behind several impenetrable fields. We know the false sky is probably one such field, but why does it say there are several of them? That's interesting, but not as interesting as this line that says the world has diverged from what was foretold, meaning that the heavenly principles was not supposed to come here, according to the future that the race of chroniclers saw. Then, this text, which is from the perspective of the Voyager, refers to Phanes as a new descender, which means that is not a concept invented on Teyvat. Let's theorize.
True.
This is a crack theory at this point, but what if descender is another word for descendant of the ancients, aka a being from that original civilization that conquered time and space? And Phanes is one of them, who broke their laws of non-interference and decided to take over a planet, after getting some new idea of how to outlast the destruction of the universe. That would explain how Phanes is so powerful, being able to manipulate time and space, create the Shades who can do the same, create the false sky, anchor the fate of Teyvat, and so on. It would also explain how his actions could diverge from the fate that the chroniclers foresaw, because he saw it too, and is intentionally trying something different. And lastly, if we tie it back to the idea of primordial human being another term for descender, that would mean that the race of chroniclers are humans, and specifically the original humans who first colonized the universe, making them primordial. Like I said, a crack theory, and there's still some major things it doesn't explain.
Look, honestly, not that crack. I need to pull this up, because where is it? Where's my pictures? Where's my pictures? Hold on. I have a picture somewhere that shows this. This is why I saved my picture. Oh my god, what the fuck is that? I think it's this one? Yeah! Where they all started off on one planet. These little purple lines are other original descenders. And then the one of these lines, I don't fucking know. One line was they started. I mean, they're not really on the planet, but like the green line was supposed to be probably, I don't know, because I got 2 purple lines going here. I don't really know. Point is, either HP decided to venture out and look at planets and then discover Tevat. And then we also, because remember our ship floated there for like a little bit and then left however many thousand years ago. Like our ship went there and then ventured around to other planets and then kind of went back. But this whole idea was the fact that they all came from the same civilization. This was my original thought too, that they all did come from the original civilization, and that HP just kind of found this planet first while we went and tried to find other ones, but we couldn't find another habitable one, so we came back. Which doesn't seem to be too true now, but you could argue that it's kind of like we went there on our way out, you know? I don't know. I wonder what kind of lore we're going to get on the moon, too, when we go there. That's going to be goddamn insane, huh?
The other 3 descenders of Tevat.
So many months ago.
This would mean Voyager has to be the second descender by definition, when it didn't seem to be the case. It also raises the question of what the third descender was even doing on Tevat. And it still doesn't explain the original mystery of descenders, which is why Traveler is one but the twin is not. So it needs a lot more work to be a good theory, but it...
Well, yeah, also, descenders are classified on Tevat as somebody with a will to change fate or whatever the hell it is, right? And in that case, how could Nibelung, I mean, is it still not 100% confirmed that Nibelung's a descender? Because if, like, this would totally say that Nibelung couldn't be a descender then. Because he obviously wasn't one of the ancients. He was of a different race. Well, at least going off of, like, his thought process here. If all descenders are part of the same, that race, since descender is a term used outside of just Tevat. You know what I mean? That doesn't line up there.
It popped in my head, so I figured I'd mention it. Let's move on to the... which is why Traveler is one, but the twin is not. So it needs a lot more work to be a good theory, but it popped in my head, so I figured I'd mention it. Let's move on to the second story told by the artifact set. I'm not going to spend too long on it because it honestly doesn't present much new information. The goblet talks about how the people of early Tevat were getting more and more advanced, to the point that they thought they could challenge the heavens. But
I'm going to say second Ascender is still up in the air, is it not? Like, we don't have confirmation of who second Ascender actually is. Like, it's very heavily implied to be Nibelung, but there's no confirmation. There's no confirmation either way. Because then it's like, oh, maybe Voyager could be that, but... I mean, in that context, in the context of what he just said, where a descender would be somebody of the ancient civilization, then it would make sense for the Voyager to be the second descender because she was obviously part of that ancient civilization that decided to transcend time and space and, you know, do all of this stuff in the universe. So Voyager matches that definition of the descender. So until we get real confirmation, it's like, I know. All right, let me back this up for a second because kind of got talking and I lost train of
I want to be on his train of thought. Which is why Traveler is one, but the twin, the third descender, was even doing on Tevat. And it still doesn't explain the original mystery of descenders, which is why Traveler is one, but the twin is not. So it needs a lot more work to be a good theory. But
I didn't even think of that. True. Because if Traveler is, our sibling would need to be too.
Popped in my head, so I figured I'd mention it. Let's move on to the second story.
I mean, either way, I think it's a good point to bring up that Descender is a term used outside of just Tevat. It's just like, Different definitions, probably.
By the artifact set. I'm not going to spend too long on it because it honestly doesn't present much new information. The goblet talks about how the people of early Tevat were getting more and more advanced, to the point that they thought they could challenge the heavens. But the Heavenly Principles wasn't going to stand for that,
No,
and doesn't
sir.
tolerate those who stray from fate.
About to
Then in
get
the circlet,
nailed.
We hear of the first angel's plan of rebellion. Most of it is the speech that she gave to the other angels in order to rally them against the Heavenly Principles. One interesting line is that a pale star burns beyond the false firmament, because until now, pale star has always referred to the Tsaritsa. Maybe this hints at a connection between the Tsaritsa and the first angel. It could also have something to do with the Voyager, as the body she possessed is said to have star-shaped pupils, but who knows. Lastly, the feather gives us the first angel's final speech before losing the War of Funerary Flame. There's a line about her asking the Voyager to leave Tevat, but previous lore indicates that didn't happen. And then we have the end, where she supposedly will be bound for 10,000 years. But we already know that's not true, because she was trapped here in Amsvartnir, and has since escaped. So let's talk about Nicole now.
Well, hold
We'll
on
start
now.
with her
What's he
weapon
trying to
lore.
imply here? Lauma refers to the War of Funerary Flame as conflict triggered by Descenders, which is later specified by Nicole as having been a battle for dominance between the Heavenly Principles and Nibelung. Yes. Yes. But we don't have like 100%, like nobody has said Nibelung is second Descender. Where we have like, I see what you're saying, Radish, but you could argue, and we know it could be argued in the future that they didn't give explicit confirmation. And because of that, Lauma could have just had bad information. I think to a point, Nicole's got bad information too. I'm gonna be honest, I forgot what the other thing was. I was like, Nicole's got bad info. I don't remember right now. But I think there's some gaps in information. So, until we have somebody explicitly say that Nibelung is the second Descender, we can't be for sure.
So let's talk about Nicole now. We'll start with her weapon lore, Angelos Heptates. The biggest revelation from the weapon lore is that Nicole was the youngest angel, the baby sister of all the other angels. We even have a reference of Nabu Malakata gifting her some perfume when she was a baby. And Sibylla played her songs or something. I don't know what this means exactly, but she was there. It also mentions Azurlight as something that makes up their cradle. Azurlight is Skirk's signature weapon. So what does Skirk have to do with this? Probably nothing, but the description of Azurlight
Probably
is
nothing.
another speech given by the first angel. So it's probably her sword, or maybe the Voyager's sword. And Azurlight here is a reference to some celestial material. Maybe this blue stuff? Who knows? Anyway, when the angels rebelled, they specifically sequestered
That would make sense, actually, because Azur is blue, no? Well, Azul is blue.
Nicole away in a safe place, because they didn't want their baby sister to have to fight in the war. That's why she survived, and possibly why she doesn't seem to have been punished as severely as all the others. It concludes with mentioning that she met Alice, and that's when she finally started to be happy and positive again. Let's get into her profile text. Her character details all the way through Character Story 5 are a single story that she is telling to the other members of the Hexen Circle. The details are the intro before she starts it. In Story 1, we have the first angel talking to Nicole. She tells of how the angels taught humanity to use fire, weave ropes, and pursue their dreams. But then, she says, some people used the fire to kill each other.
Hell
Some
yeah.
used the rope to try to reach the heavens, and some used their wisdom to shed their forms to delve into the sea and pursue dreams that could lead them beyond the world. In all three cases, the Heavenly Principles punished them.
Oh.
All three might be references to actual named cities in the game. That third one is probably Meropis, the city that used to be where Remeria was. The second mentions building an upside-down tower to reach the heavens, which is interesting. The first one apparently destroyed
the old
itself before they were punished,
chasm.
so maybe we'll never know what it was. The point was to teach Nicole that the laws of the heavenly principles are not to be tested. Stories 2 and 3 are about a human girl who repeatedly came to Nicole for answers. This girl was the smartest person Nicole had ever met, and always asked the most advanced questions. Other humans were afraid of her because of it, and even tried to throw her in prison, but eventually decided it'd be better to let her continue to talk to Nicole. This made Nicole happy, because as the youngest angel, most of the other angels had already given everyone the guidance they needed before she came along. So, a person finally coming to her for answers was a chance to use her gifts. There's also a nod toward Tsubai and how skilled a teacher she was. But finally,
Okay, dude, holy shit. Did you see what he did there? Yo, did he specifically record this footage for that? Look at that. Did he go in a co-op mode and have a Tsubai walk up to him? Holy production value. Hold on a minute, watch this.
So, a person finally coming to her for answers was a chance to use her gifts.
What?
There's also a nod toward Tsubai and how skilled a teacher she was. But finally, a long time later, the girl posed a new
production value. I'm of the impression that there is a process by which one becomes a descender as confirmed by Renee, which would explain why Nibelung is second and not first, even though he is native to Teyvat. Yeah, I mean, there's arguments depending on your definitions. That's the problem. That is the problem now, because the argument in this is that the way that it's defined as descender in this is that it appears to be an ancient, or well, a universal term used outside of Teyvat. So by that definition, it makes sense that it would be Voyager. But if by Teyvat definition, it makes sense, or will to change fate, or will to change the world, whatever the hell they say, right? It makes sense to be Nibelung. So it really is all by what definition you want to use. I mean, I'm in the camp where it makes sense to be Nibelung, right? I mean, I am. Especially because I don't know if you can consider Voyager coming down and really having the will to change the world. I mean, I don't know if that was really the goal here. I think they were more just here out of curiosity, you know, and then ended up falling in love and fucking shit up. To be honest with you, I don't think they came here with a will to change the world. But then you could argue that about us. We didn't come, I mean, as we know it right now, we didn't really come here with that intention. We didn't come here with the intention to really change anything. Doesn't seem like it. We just kind of ended up here. We just kind of ended up here, from what it seems like. So what exactly got us the will to change the world? We don't, I mean, before this, we had our own life probably, right? Like, be real. Without memories, without a home that we remember, this is our home now, as we say, that is our home. Okay, now you have a will to change the world. But before that, I mean, why the fuck do we care what happens here? Be honest. I actually don't think that the Voyager is a descender. She literally is such a pussy who just came down and was like, oh, well, y'all are dumb. But that's what I mean. Why are we? Why are we? We just kind of came down here too, from what it seems like. You know what? I hope, you know the one thing I hope the moon tells us? I hope the moon gives us insight as to why we stopped here however many thousand years ago. I hope that we find something else in our ship. I don't even know if our ship is part of the moon, to be honest with you. It should be, right? It probably should be. But, like, give us a better timeline as to what happened when our ship stopped here. Because that's important. That's something very important that they haven't really gone further on. Timeline-wise. That could help fill in a couple gaps. You know what I mean? Let me pee really quick. Okay. Let's rewind for a second.
Her for answers was a chance to use her gifts. There's also a nod toward Tsubai and how skilled a teacher she was. But finally, a long time later, the girl posed a new question. What purpose does this world serve?
It's the intelligent girl.
Stumped by the question, Nicole thought for a while before realizing that her connection to the heavens was severed. At this moment, the War of Funerary Flame had begun, and Nicole caught a glimpse of it outside. She desperately tried to get everyone she could to safety. The survivors could take nothing with them and had been living in luxury for so long that they didn't know how to survive without their technology. So Nicole figured she'd teach them, but the aftermath of the destruction made the land and soil unfit for life, and Nicole didn't know what to do about it. And I'm pretty sure the implication here is that everyone she tried to save died anyway, the last to go being that girl. Story 4 is about the punishment of the angels after the war.
GG.
They all had to give up something, and this paragraph calls out specific examples without naming them. The first sentence, as we learn later, is Ursa the Drake. The next is All Sealies. The next is Sibylla. The next is Nabu Malakata. The next two sentences are Tsubai, and the last is Yahaltakutan, Lord of the Night. And then we have Nicole, and she describes how she gave up half her wisdom since she was shackled by the laws that would prevent her from sharing it. She gave up half her power since those same laws barred her from using it to help people. It doesn't mention her voice, but it was probably an additional concession to allow for only giving up half of the other two. Finally, story 5 is after her story is over, and the Hexen Circle reacts to it, specifically to the question of what the purpose of the world is. The reaction of each gives some insight to their personality. The most interesting to me is Rhindaughter, who was holding a flask that would likely become Albedo, and says that finding the answer would be a good test. Notably, that's exactly the question she told Albedo to seek the answer to later, though he thought she was just telling him to get a life, but I suppose that's a valid interpretation. Alice is seemingly not there anymore, though, and the rest of the mages eventually leave, just in time for Alice to show back up with a big suitcase. She says that she and Nicole should adventure to the world's border so that Nicole could see other worlds and maybe find the answer there. And this is where things get really interesting.
We just read this earlier.
Alice says they won't... Alright, guys.
Oh my god, I hit the arrow, I hit the arrow.
There. And this is where things get really interesting. First, Alice says they won't cross the border because the rules are too strict. Also, when you come back, you can't bring anything except memories, and sometimes not even those. She then lists some crazy things she's seen and jokes that they should stow away in Octavia's suitcase next time. Either way, they make the trip to the border so that Nicole can have a look. Did I say this is where things get interesting?
Yeah.
More like utterly baffling.
The border
pass section makes no sense and completely torpedoes everything we think we know about Tevat and maybe the universe. Let me start with a summary. Arriving at the border still required them to fill out a bunch of paperwork before receiving a border pass that could take one of many different forms, including liquid and vapor. There's apparently a whole crowd of people, or some intelligent beings, here seeking entrance or exit, one of them being a sentient stream of mercury. Then they find Alice's husband Kleiner, who brings some food, and that's that. What? I suspected before that Alice, being the sustainer of the world's border, was not talking about the false sky.
I agree.
This pretty much confirms it. This is a literal alien border security checkpoint straight out of Men in Black. This is not some shell around a planet. I don't recall Nicole and them having to fill out paperwork after smashing the false sky open with the moon. What's going on? I've got two possibilities. One, this harkens back to when the Voyager lore mentioned multiple different impenetrable fields surrounding Tevat, not just one false sky. Maybe the false sky is the innermost shell, and the outermost shell is like some sort of border security checkpoint that absolutely no one on Tevat has any clue about except Alice. And now Nicole, and maybe Venti and Skirk. Okay, maybe several people know, but it's not a lot. The outermost one could encompass well outside the entire solar system, whereas the firmament we know...
I don't agree. Just based off of that border pass lore, they made it sound like goddamn fair. A festival, dude. What festival are you having all the way out here? Not a damn one, okay? Unless it's like a floating spaceship, like a big what is it? You know, the big satellite, that International Space Station.
Now
But
only
I doubt it.
encompasses lunar orbit. Before Luna 4, it seemed like it was literally just the planet's atmosphere, but I feel like we're just not supposed to think about that. The second possibility is even more wild. It could be referring to the border of an entire parallel universe. Genshin Impact's cosmology could encompass a multiverse, with one universe consisting of literally all the lore we have ever learned both in and out of Teyvat. But then other universes also exist, and there are borders that can be crossed by those who jump through all these hoops. Each universe could have its own laws of reality and fade, and, you know, I'm just gonna stop there before this just becomes a fanfiction. The problem with option 2 is Octavia. It seems clear that Octavia is just exploring other planets in the same universe, but Alice jokes about stowing away with her in order to cross this border, so there's a contradiction there. Either way, I have no idea what's going on with this border pass. Let's jump back to something we can understand, with Nicole's vision entry. This reiterates
I don't know. I could see the parallel universe thing happening. But I'm not completely sold that that's it yet. You know what I mean? Like, I could see it being a possibility, but I'm not completely sold that that is it.
That gods came about after the angels were gone, and had a different relationship with humanity. The angels were like everyone's best friends and mentors, whereas gods were, well, gods, to be revered and obeyed, and not to be questioned. It then implies that visions became a thing after the gods were empowered, that having a vision is a journey meant for mortals with an inevitable end, and it doesn't sound like it's a good end. It implies that the final outcome involves returning to the light, which Nicole is drawn to do anyway. Venti first tells us that vision bearers can become gods, but maybe it's more likely that they just get absorbed by the heavenly principles in an effort to heal them. Just a fun thought. In any case, Nicole wanted a vision just to be seen as human.
Like, not the good kind of sick either, the bad kind of sick.
After having a chat with the Lord of the Night about it, she decides to do everything she can to integrate herself with humanity. And it worked. Eventually, she got her vision, and with it, proof that her creator now considered her human, and thus she could explore all the freedoms that entailed. We've got one more page to get through, the voice lines. Most of it is innocuous stuff, and stuff that just reinforces things we've already talked about. But let's mention a couple unique ones. First, she says it would be dangerous to tell us about the history of the world, but then also implies Alice would be free to do that. This isn't the first time we've been told Alice has special privileges to discuss knowledge normally banned in Teyvat. Here, she lists a few unified civilization cities, and one we don't know yet called Patra, something to look forward to. Nicole apparently has an inferiority complex about Sibai. Sibai was legendary among angels, partly due to her connection to Istaroth, whom they called the Archangel. And Nicole, being the baby sister, always heard stories about how great Sibai is, so she doesn't even want to meet her. I already mentioned the part where Ursa the Drake was an angel, but that does raise the question of why an angel would turn into a dragon. Is there a
that was in the quest, in Lowen's quest.
Saying dragon just based on how Ursa looked? The origin of angels is still a mystery, so it's possible something was done to dragons to create angels. And then, if the border pass was a torpedo to the lore we know, then here's another one.
In another converged possibility, Albedo was the primordial human who traveled through worlds, recording and creating all. However, once that journey reached its end, no one would have been able to guarantee whether he would choose destruction or salvation. Luckily, you're the one who embarked on the journey this time. How did the alternate Albedo fare? I can no longer observe that possibility. Besides, copying someone else's answer is of little use. The journey is your own.
I mean, that could just be literally the literal alternate Albedo who popped up in fucking, what was it, 1.3 initially? who would have embarked on the same journey we did, but that probably wouldn't have ended too well.
We know Albedo's creation was something Rheindotter called the Primordial Human Project, and I've been saying Primordial Human is another term for Descender, so apparently there's an alternate reality where Rheindotter successfully created the Primordial Human Albedo, making him the fourth Descender instead of Traveler, and he was the one that went on this journey. And actually, this isn't the first time we've heard an alternate timeline
Varkas.
if Traveler wasn't around. The other was Varka's whole backstory, where he decided to go to Nodcry instead of fulfill his fate in Mondstadt, which the Traveler subsequently fulfilled. So all I can figure is that when Nicole says she was observing it, that was literally the fate of Tevat before Traveler got here, and that's what she saw. Then, when Traveler did get here, fate changed. So now she can't see any prophecies of that other fate anymore.
Right.
I don't know what else to say
And
about this.
it'd probably be dangerous to do so.
So, the last thing I want to cover is Nicole's weekly house.
Which is why Nicole really can't talk about certain things, because, you know, Nicole's a storyteller. You know what I mean? And Nicole, writing these stories, telling these stories in literal form, not in, I guess, kiddie form, fairy tale form, could be bad.
Quest thing. If you haven't done it yet, well, there's not a
Abyssal
whole lot to
energy.
spoil there. And
Fates that never formed, fates that didn't continue to form, fates that were done bad.
there's also only one thing I want to mention from the entire quest line, which is the very end.
Huh,
But still,
yeah.
it's not much of a spoiler. Anyway, I actually missed this on my playthrough of it, because if you do this Nicole Observe interaction, then NPC Nicole disappears and you can't talk to her again. And I did them in the wrong order, so I can't show you the quote as background footage. Luckily, we have the wiki. So, this place we're in looks identical to the Temple of Space.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird, but then this interaction that I missed confirms that this whole area is a creation of Nicole's memories. So it's not actually the Temple of Space. But she also says that we can't find this scenery anywhere else.
Yeah.
So apparently she has no idea that we can just go to the Temple of Space whenever we want. Anyway, I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I did too.
We made it through that chaos of lore revelations.
That doesn't
Now
make
I've
any
injected my
sense.
theories in with the lore recap, so we can pretty much wrap the video up. I know some people hate when lore creators do that, but I don't know. I just write the scripts in the way that I feel flows the best. And
Well, wait, he didn't really, I mean, I thought he was going to talk more about the artifacts, to be honest. I thought he was going to give, like, more of an opinion on the artifact stories.
sometimes it just works out that way. For a world quest like the Temple of Space, it makes more sense to recap the quest and then start theorizing. But for lore reading of multiple different items and profile sections, it flowed better just to go back and forth between lore entries. After all, some people might need a recap to remember a world quest, if they even did it. Whereas for lore reading, you could open the wiki right now and just read it all on your own, and it'd probably take less time than this video. Yeah, anyway, thanks so much for watching though. I'm glad you came here instead of doing that. If you want to hear me yap about lore some more, feel free to subscribe. I suspect my next video will be about whatever happens in Luna 8.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, we just keep getting these hints about what the border is, what the border could be. Alice at the border this, border that. What is the border? Nobody knows what the border is. And it's just like, why can they not just tell us? Like, why are we getting all these little things about what it may be or could be? And yet we just can't get an answer what it is. Why? Why? Anyways, good video. I like this guy. He makes good videos. And I'm still not any closer to knowing what the border is. I'm just not. I'm not completely sold on the fact that the border is like a way to another dimension. I'm not there. Nicole mentioned something Celestia in the teapot. I didn't even see her teapot stuff. What did Nicole say in the teapot? Probably this stuff, right? Oh, background music, hold on. Oh yeah, how do you like it here? It feels like I returned home to Celestia. I mean it. It too has an unusual relationship between its inner and outer dimensions, as I'm sure you can imagine. Though, am I allowed to be discussing this? And it should be fine. After all, these are just my memories, so it has nothing to do with my access to the knowledge base that I lost long ago. Knowledge base access? Well, I can't tell you much about that, I'm afraid. Just think of it as having the keys to a library and then having them confiscated. Though plenty of my sisters have secret copies of books they fail to return, there might just be one who kept a key, or maybe even two? The best students are always so calculating. It's better to be like me and be content with what you have. Not that I didn't keep any knowledge for myself, but that was more of a case of me keeping certain books by default because I still had them the day that the library closed. You probably better not borrow any books in Mondstadt. Yeah, Lisa will kill you. I do think the border is the physical separation between Teyvat and the rest of the universe, but I'm pretty convinced Teyvat is in its own microcosm, aka potentially another manifestation of reality. I mean, I can understand that as well. I can understand the pocket dimension. I can understand the parallel universe. I'm just not like, I'm not fully all in on any of them. Like, I don't feel fully all in on any of them. Like, I was more all in on the fact that the border was Alice preventing these little bubbles from popping up due to us constantly changing the fate of the world, because we're always changing stuff. You know what I mean? And after that one quest, I felt like, oh, there'd probably be a bunch of little bubbles of abyssal energy popping up right behind us that Alice is taking care of. You know what I mean? But with the new information that the border is like somewhere Kleiner was hanging out at one point, there's a pass to get into the border. Like, I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean. Like, it's not as though it's just a wall that they're putting up and preventing things from like crossing, you know? It's not the border of Mexico, dude. We're not trying to stop them just from coming in. Like, people are on the other side hanging out. They're chilling. But it's very strict there. You can't mess anything up. What the hell does that mean? Why would the pass not be able to have fingerprints on it? Why would the pass have to stay in pristine condition? Not change at all? I don't understand that. See, I think it feels like I've returned home to Celestia. I mean, it too has an unusual relationship with its inner and outer dimensions, because the inner seems so much larger than what it actually is on the outside, right? So Celestia is actually larger on the inside than what it appears like on the outside. Yeah, the moon's within the border now. But But I also can still say that I do believe there are multiple firmament layers, but I don't think that has anything to do with the border at all. I don't think that has a single thing to do with the border. Like when he put in his video, where is it? When he put in his video, this part, where the border's all the way out here, like a 4th firmament level, I don't think that at all. I don't think that has anything to do with the border. While I can say, hey, there might be multiple layers of firmament, I don't believe it has anything to do with the border. I don't. Yeah, so, I mean, Nicole's basically saying what we do see in the sky, when we actually get there or are able to go there, is going to be way bigger. You know, I feel like it's going to be like a Temple of Space situation. Where, like... You know, because what is it? It was Asmodee. This is like the temple. And then Asmodee took the temple and lifted it up into the sky. But as we know, it's way bigger than just this area. Way bigger than just this temple. You know? And it's like we just touch this thing and then we end up there. Who knows if we're actually even like going anywhere? Like, what if we're going inside and not actually up anywhere? Like what if we're going in? Oh. There's a video Arnold did. How long is that? $14 hours ago? Okay, we'll watch. All right. We're on the kick. I'll watch Arnold video. Let me see what he thinks. While we're on this kick, okay? I'll do his.
I wonder if we're gonna get like a furnishing or something.
I can't help but wonder why you're so excited about these rewards, Nicole.
She wants to feel useful, Paimon.
Sure. Paimon looks forward to the traveler's reaction when she gets him a gift, but this feels kind of different.
What did I tell you about gift horses, Paimon? Yeah, don't look them in the mouth.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Okay, I don't want to.
She has like a compulsion. Oh, damn. Does she get like an old, like, I wonder if it's like I wonder if she just has a natural instinct, like she has to help people, even if it's just to like a basic chest that she set up in her house, you know what I mean? Like she has like a compulsion to help.
Huh?
It all started with the birth of the angels.
Oh, no way.
Mission to love all living beings.
A thing you need to know about Nicole. And guys, I ghost wrote this. She's saying what my video said.
Our ability to perceive emotion was crude and undeveloped.
Ooh.
Most of the time, we simply executed our orders from above, like automatons following commands.
Chat, oh, they can't perceive emotions because the heavenly principles can't perceive emotions.
Is this just him reacting to this?
In the Serenity.
From enlightenment, leading
they were like, Divine Envoy, please don't obey. Like they sounded super scared, like terrified. And she was like, you know, things will be fine. Don't worry about it. And it's like, the world is crumbling around us. What do you mean?
Besides, guiding others is a good thing in itself. Don't you think? Oh
my God, the freaking breadcrumbs gamer. deep of the potion drink. Few others, time to think. So, before we continue on with the rest of the content, chat did inform me that Nicole has some colorful commentary for us in the Serenity Pot. So we're actually gonna travel. Oh no, she actually just talked to Nicole and see what else she says.
Uh-huh. If it isn't a certain someone.
I thought this was Adeptal Arts. I thought this was subspace technology. What do you mean? Folded dimensional terminology for subspace Adeptal Arts. How do you like it here?
It feels like I've returned home. To Celestia, I mean. It, too, has an unusual relationship between its inner and outer dimensions, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Zhongli? Zhongli! Bro, Zhongli taught the Adepti how to use this subspace technology. And he's Heaven Star. So you're saying, oh yeah, Celestia has subspace like abodes like this too. So you're saying the observation points are those things. Like the observation points feel like they're their own like teapot subspace abodes. Guys, I swear to God, is Zhongli like the son of Celestia or something?
Though, am I allowed to be discussing this?
Oh my God.
It should be fine. After all, these are just my memories, so it has nothing to do with my access to the knowledge base that I lost long ago.
Oh, because she had to give up? Is that what she means? Like her, like, knowledge base access? Are you a robot?
Well...
Clank, clank.
I can't tell you much about that, I'm afraid.
Bruh.
Just think of it as having the keys to a library, and then having them confiscated.
Chat, we do not know what we do not know. Yeah, she lost her admin privileges.
Though plenty of my sisters have secret copies of books they failed to return, there might just be one who kept a key. Or maybe even two.
Stop. 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 What do you mean? You mean there's keys to an ancient library of lore that we just don't have access to yet?
Yeah, and then we'll get to go in there and it'll be like one readable book.
It's better to be like me and be content with what you have.
Oh my God, she said her sisters, but it's like not many of them are around anymore.
Not that I didn't keep any knowledge for myself, but that was more of a case of me keeping certain books by default, because I still had them the day that the library closed.
Oh my God. You'd better not borrow any books in Mondstadt. Yeah, and forget, Lisa will be on your case.
Why not? Looks.
Oh, yeah. Bai is the only angel in the present that would have any kind of, she said keys to the library of
that we know of so far.
And access. Okay, really quick, chat. I just need to double check this. I know for a fact Tubby talks about Zhongli here. Actually, it might have been the dialogue that we got when we first met of the day. I might have to like find the VOD. I might upload this as a separate video. From a golden-eyed adepti or golden-eyed adeptus, and Zhongli is the prime adepti. He's like the leader of all the adepti, so I'm pretty sure Zhongli, right, with his freaking subspace cubes, had the subspace technology, the subspace adeptal art, and taught it to the other adepti, to where they then used it for like the teapots and stuff like that. Does Zabai have golden eyes? Yeah, but I think at the time it wouldn't make sense that it was Zabai, because she was sealed in the moon thousands of years prior. So it wouldn't make sense for Tubby to have learned that from her. Maybe it could be her, but I think it's more associated with Zhongli. A golden-eyed adeptus explained this to me at some point in the past. He said that even though subspace creation is a product of adeptal power, even that has its limits. Yeah, so it can't be that definitely wasn't Zabai then.
Wow, is that all it
Holy
takes?
fuck.
Then we could build
Holy shit, throwback!
Couldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, from the looks of things, yeah.
I doubt it. A golden-eyed adeptus explained this to me at some point in the past.
Golden-eyed
Damn, he went to the archives for this.
Zhao's eyes? Are Zhao's eyes? Oh, Zhongli, maybe?
He said that even though subspace creation is a product of adeptal power, even that has its limits. This world is not a true one, after all. It provides merely a moment of brief respite from the mortal realm, not a means of escaping it entirely. A golden-eyed adeptus? What's more, I'm welcomed to this realm.
Golden-eyed adeptus.
If there's
principle
anything you would like
that draws in more questions because they're saying, like, Nicole is associating the subspace technology here to that of the heavenly principles and, like, Celestia's similar, like, observation points and, like, how they have an outer and an inner realm. Like, there's an outer part of Celestia and then an inner part of Celestia, and her associating that with the, with these abodes is very suspicious.
I mean, Nicole has it too. You know what I mean? I mean, look at her teapot. I mean, or look at her like room, bruh. Look at her room. Look at her room. We open that final door and it's the goddamn temple of space. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it's not surprising that he may have found the tech however long ago, and just since he was the holder of that tech, well, then he's the one who actually was able to, you know, win part of the war. Hey, you win through knowledge, you win through the things you know. The strongest prevail. Survival of the fittest. Zhongli had access to that tech. How he got it? Well, we'll probably figure that out. But we know he was the one to get access to this tech and then ended up sharing it. It is just crazy how they end up linking all these things together. You know what I mean? And now it'll be awesome to hear eventually from Zhongli, because we obviously know that Zhongli knew a lot more than he led us to believe because he signed a contract, I believe it was, right? Zhongli had a contract where he couldn't tell us everything. And, you know, Venti obviously knew way, way more than he led us to believe. You know? I mean, that dude is basically side by side with the Hexen Circle. He's basically a Hexen Circle member without being one. So, everybody will explain themselves in due time. Tsaritsa might have subspace tech. I mean, they might have their own forms, you know? It makes sense. It does. It makes sense that, okay, Zhongli had this power, and while everyone, it was always Adepti power. But Adepti power had to come from somewhere, right? And where does it come from? Well, the creator of the world. Makes sense. I get it. I get it. There's always one level up. That's why it's always like, sometimes when we hear this information, while it is true in the current context, we have to realize that there was another level of hidden / deleted / just simply unknown information that even the people we're talking to don't know. That's how we've learned by now that that's how deep they go, and they're willing to go. They're not letting something from 2 years ago actually be what the final truth is. There's another truth on top of that that was either rewritten, deleted, in a fairy tale, hence why we had all these fairy tales from the beginning of the game. It was to hint that there's deeper truth to the truths we're being told. While everyone does believe it's true, Adepti Arts is the truth, well, it's not the final truth. First contract, the contract to end all contracts. I don't know. What was the last title in Leeway? In Tevat Travail? Fuck if I know, brother. I don't fuck. I don't even remember what the last chapter of Not Cry was. Well, I guess we're not in it yet. Hello? Why is the only thing going through my head right now is Zabai? Leeway. Final chapter. This is a new star approaches? Yes? Oh, yeah, I did notice it going through, though. I noticed that, too. Okay, Akira, relax. Akira, relax. Oh my god. I don't know how the fuck to spell that. Travail? That's not right. Travail. Travail. Travail? I remember that was a big thing about the Samara one.
Is wisdom.
But I don't think, yes, but this already did exist. This was the first chapter. That was the first chapter. Farewell, Archaic Lord. Or well, second, I guess. So it's already been a chapter. That's already been a chapter. It's not the same as Sumeru. That's right. Okay, we have to move on. We have to go to Ashikai's video because that is the main purpose of this React Day. As the main purpose of this React Day is to get there's this one, right? Yes. All right. I was told to watch this because she says something in here that I've been saying. And I have a feeling, considering it's about the Temple of Space, it's that the Shades combined RHP. Because what else could it be? I mean, honestly, that's one thing I've been saying for a while now, and honestly, I think that's what it is, but I just want to hear it, and we need to watch this. This is a 53-minute thing, Temple of Space. I did watch her previous one, but that was kind of where she was just referencing the spaces within the Temple of Space and the cool kind of references within the Temple of Space, you know, which was pretty cool. But I have a feeling this one, supposedly this one, gets into a bit more of the lore. We get a little bit more theory action here from her. So 6.6, the power of space, Genshin Impact Theory. We ready?
To say the Temple of Space is jam-packed with fascinating snippets of lore and references would be quite the understatement. You can, after all, find something of interest basically anywhere you look, and we went over a lot of them in part 1 of this series. And yet, despite all that, the temple's master is conspicuously absent.
Missing!
And it's not just her physical appearance that's absent either. Apart from the temple's residents confirming that Asmodee disappeared hundreds of years ago without explanation, there's a distinct lack of any explicit information about her to be found anywhere in the temple. But there is a lot of implicit information about her here. Stuff that's a little bit harder to put together because it's scattered and fragmented in ways that make the connections between them difficult to see. But lucky for you, consolidating this massive disjointed intel is what I've been up to lately. And in this video, I'm gonna put all my collected puzzle pieces together so that we can learn more about this mysterious shade of space, Asmodee. Now this video is technically part 2 in my Temple of Space series, and while we spent part 1 covering each temple area in turn, I can't really do the same thing with part 2 because the remaining areas like the Memory Core, Apathic Interval, and the Cage of Suchness are far too interconnected to talk about them independently. So instead of doing that, we're gonna start by talking about the Temple of Space's residents and mechanics, which will tell us more about what the power of space really is. And from there, we'll be able to take a closer look at Asmodee herself, including the reason why she chose to serve a new master. Speaking of
Oh.
which, I recently happened to become the new master of the all-new Red Magic 11S Pro gaming phone, who's also the sponsor of today's video. Now, in my opinion, every Red Magic phone looks really, really cool, but the 11S Pro takes that to a totally different level, a very practical level.
That
You
is
see this
pretty
big blue circle?
practical.
That's not there to tell you where to mount your pop socket. It's part of the 11S Pro's cooling system.
That's
and right
pretty
now,
neat.
it just looks like a blue ring, but if I open
much
Genshin
is this bad boy?
Impact, the ring starts to spin.
Give me a price
so this
point.
ring is full of a very special cooling liquid that keeps the phone operating at an optimal temperature so it
Liquid-cooled
doesn't overheat
phones? That's
during
where we're at
intensive
now?
gaming sessions. And I just love that you can see it working with all these little air bubbles moving around. And this advanced cooling system works alongside heat sinks
Oh.
and a completely waterproof cooling fan on the side. And that waterproofing is very
Look at
important to
Lowen.
me specifically because I spend most of my time
Don't put the
outside,
phone in the water.
and it's usually pretty risky to have my phone on me when I'm around water.
Oh, she
but I
just
don't have to worry about that with the Red Magic 11S Pro. Not only
I would never
can
do
I
that.
safely
I don't care.
submerge this phone, I
Nope.
can also use the screen accurately while it's still wet. You
Nope.
pair that with a beautiful edge-to-edge AMOLED screen, a separate processor dedicated only to running your games, fast charging, long battery life,
not
and
taking
even
that test.
a headphone jack, and
Oh
you
my God,
have
a
a
headphone
recipe for
jack.
not just a fantastic gaming phone, but also a very practical
already
phone
bought
for
7.
daily use. So if you happen to be in the market for a new phone, you should definitely check out the Red Magic 11S Pro gaming phone using my link in the description. You'll be glad you did.
know you
And
want
I'm
to.
glad the Red Magic 11S Pro gaming phone has sponsored this video, so thank you very much. But now it is time for me to spend way too much time talking about Asmodee.
Wait, it's only $600. No fucking shot. No fucking shot. It's only hold on. No shot. It's only $600. There's no shot. Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about? That shit ain't only $600. Get out of here. Even that's cheap, to be honest with you. Thought it was gonna be at least $1,000.
Day in her power of space. But
Isn't it crazy? Hold on, because my mind just went there. Isn't it crazy that we're so quick to spend $1,000 on a phone, but then people are like, "This Steam device is $1,000. That's too much. That's too much." What a world, eh? What a world, eh?
before we can get to that, we're gonna have to start off with some very basic
can't
background
get too
information
distracted. We
on
gotta
the
lock
Temple
in.
of
Come on.
Space. So, without further ado,
Come on.
let's get right into it. Originally, the Temple of Space was a very simple stone structure located north of Dornman Port. It was a companion temple to the Temple of Time, which was built nearby. While both temples were built to honor the shades of space and time respectively, Asmodee at least rarely, if ever, made an appearance there herself. But when disaster swept through the region then known as Arcadia, Asmodee finally turned her gaze towards the temple and raised it to the heavens where it could no longer be reached
And
through
made
normal
that
means.
bitch big.
Now this is just conjecture, but it
'Cause
doesn't
there's-
seem like she just lifted the buildings into
No.
the sky as is. It seems far more likely that she put the entire temple in a box for safekeeping and then put that box in the sky. Reason being is that this place is pretty cut off from the rest of the world. Entering or exiting the temple is very restrictive and difficult, and some
like you have to
rules of
die.
reality just don't apply within that space. Like, the
Time.
flow of time. That means nothing within the temple can erode or degrade, so the living residents of the temple cannot age, get hungry, or even sleep.
I remember there was a question when playing that. I'm just like, where actually is the Temple of Space? Like, is it outside the firmament? Is it even in the firmament? Is it near Celestia? Is it next to Celestia? Maybe it's inside Celestia? Who the hell knows? But I like the box. I like the box. It's in the box. It's a teapot.
Those things are a factor of time. Now, you may recall from the Shades teaser that Asmodee actually has a lot of these boxed spaces in her collection. In the teaser, the other 3 Shades spent time traveling through each of them looking for her. And again, this is just conjecture, but because there are so many, I think they probably have a categorization or labeling system. And that's where I think the name Segment Domain Tau came from. Now, unlike the other boxed space that we saw in the teaser, Segment Domain Tau isn't just a space containing a moment of time. It's a massive, eternal space full of living memories collected from every era. It's a living exhibit of Teyvat's history, complete with the people representing every civilization and era and custom angelic watchers to take care of them. That makes this space very unique. No, the only reason I went over this very obvious stuff about the temple that you probably already knew is so that I could have an excuse to ask you one very important question.
Hit
Why
me.
did Asmodee decide to turn this neglected temple into a civilization conservation project in the first place?
Boredom. 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 She was bored. She was sick of waiting for HP to show up. This nerd. She's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm bored. No, I'm just kidding.
Because you gotta admit, it's kind of weird that this place even exists. It's almost like Asmodee wants a backup of all the information and people in Teyvat just in case some massive disaster.
Oh, that's a good point. It's probably remind me of Cyrene Demi-Urge HSR. Memories, Aeon Fooly Gaze. Yeah, I mean, in a way, right? In a way, it's kind of what this is doing. Storing all the memories, and she doesn't want, remember, the people here can't write something different. Like, they can't write fiction here. It's banned. It can only be stuff that existed in real Teyvat.
They want a backup of all the information and people in Teyvat just in case some massive disaster in the future happens. Speaking of which, the disaster that caused Asmodee to save the Temple of Space is never explicitly named anywhere in the quest or anywhere I could find, but based on contextual clues, it was likely the War of Funerary Flame. The first and most important piece of information that supports this idea has to do with the order in which people were uplifted into the temple, because they appear to be uplifted chronologically. Case in point, Historia was among the first people to be uplifted into the temple, and he hailed from the era of angels and witnessed Nibelung's return during the War of Funerary Flame. So unless you want to argue that she can just uplift anyone from any moment in time, it makes sense that the temple would have been uplifted at or around the time the first people were also uplifted.
I mean, to be fair, with what we know about Marjavari now, you know what I mean? I mean, hey, that's something I feel like they're trying to make that lore make the most sense, like, that they can. You know what I mean? Because that Marjavari blown off the timeline shit, to work that into everything is going to be tricky. I'm telling you, that's going to be some tricky shit. And I also feel like they didn't want to give us that too early, which is why I feel like we didn't really get more Marjavari lore, is because of the whole, you know, timeline of things. But to believe that she could have just brought people here from any point in the timeline, that's not completely impossible, knowing that we got to see Bennett's parents in Marjavari. I'm just saying, we can communicate.
Which in this case is the War of Funerary Flame. And the Funerary War certainly does fit the definition of a disaster because it destroyed many civilizations and even the moons. So it really does seem like the perfect catalyst for Asmodee to attempt to save what little she could of the world and humanity. But when you put it like that, it kind of sounds like Asmodee decided to make an ark of sorts, right? A heavenly apocalypse bunker from which civilization could be rebuilt if the worst case scenario were to come to pass.
I knew it.
And that's really interesting to me because while the War of Funerary Flame isn't described as a flood per se, the book Before Sun and Moon does describe those events under headlines that explicitly reference the events of the Great Flood in Genesis. You know, the one about Noah's Ark. So humor me for a moment while I conflate Noah's Ark with the Temple of Space. While we know the cause of the War of Funerary Flame, a cause for the Genesis flood is never really given in the biblical canon. It just says, and I'm paraphrasing here, that God was displeased with mankind and wanted to wash the world clean of sin and start over. But the biblical canon never really describes a specific big event or monumental sin that would trigger or even justify this kind of extreme reaction from a deity. There is, however, a very detailed exposition on the cause of the flood found in the apocryphal book of Enoch.
I mean, let's be real. As a kid, you were bored. What did you do as a kid when you were bored? Well, you took the magnifying glass and you cooked that little ant, okay? You took the water bottle and you poured it down the ant hole. Well, guess what? Those ants just experienced a flood for no reason whatsoever other than simple boredom from a 5-year-old. GG. Huh.
The first book of Enoch, which is the only one we're going to be talking about today, starts out by talking about a group of angels called the Watchers who decided to descend to Earth and take human wives so that they could have children. These half-human, half-angel children were called the Nephilim, and God kind of hated them. He also hated the fact that the Watchers taught mankind all manner of things like herbalism and metalwork, fashion, astrology. All of this stuff was basically considered forbidden knowledge, if you will. So God really hated the Nephilim, and he also did not like the fact that this information from the Watchers was spreading throughout mankind. These things were not part of God's plans. So God decided to just wipe the world clean.
Wait, are they called Watchers in, they're called Watchers in, oh my god, Genshin, right? That's what they're called? They're the Watchers? Or are they different? Yeah, it is. They're also Watchers. Let me second guess them for a second.
And that's how we got the Genesis flood and also the story of Noah's Ark. Noah was considered a very virtuous man, so God trusted him with repopulating the world after he wiped it clean.
This is so inaccurate description of the reason, but we'll talk about the real reason in detail another time. Okay, bye.
Now, obviously, I'm oversimplifying the story and leaving out a lot of the details, but these main points are kind of all we need to start drawing some really interesting parallels between the story told in 1st Enoch and what happened with the Temple of Space. As far as I'm concerned, these parallels are not coincidental. I think that Hoyo is referencing Enoch explicitly and deliberately, and I think by the end of this, you'll agree with me. See, according to the Little Witch in the Undying Fire, Teyvat was also originally populated by the Nephilim.
Yeah.
But the book also implies that this is no longer the case, like the Nephilim aren't around in great number anymore. So we can assume that this race must have been around during the pre-War of Funerary Flame era, in the same way that the biblical—
Is Zabai considered one?
Nephilim were around during the pre-flood era. And in the same way God wanted the Nephilim gone, the heavenly principles also probably wanted them gone.
Are the... Would... What's the dragon? Ursa be considered one? Angel dragon? Would they be considered a Nephilim?
My hypothesis is that they were probably dragons of some sort, which really doesn't narrow things down very much because technically speaking, angels are also dragons. Thank you, Nicole, for the established lore. Although with that in mind, I do wonder if the angels actually qualify as the Nephilim in this case, because they are obviously of dragon origin, but they have humanoid shapes, which kind of makes them like half human, half dragon-ish, which would match the whole half angel, half human Nephilim from the Bible. But I honestly don't know. Anyway, the point is what destroyed the Nephilim in both cases was a great disaster, a flood in the Bible, and a war in Teyvat, which may have actually been flood related if you think of the abyss as flooding Teyvat, but that's neither here nor there. This disaster was also likely what caused Asmodee to turn the Temple of Space into a sort of ark, like Noah's Ark. And this becomes quite intriguing once you learn more about Enoch himself. Because Enoch isn't just the name of the book, it's the name of a guy in the book. In fact, it's the name of the guy who presumably wrote the book as a first-hand account of what he witnessed. And Enoch was a scribe by trade who hailed from the pre-flood era and was also the great-great-great-grandfather of Noah. Now, I know this description will probably make you think of someone like Astoria since he's a scribe from the equivalent of the pre-flood era, and I think that's a valid connection to make. The problem is that although Enoch did ascend to heaven, in a similar way to how Astoria was uplifted into the Temple of Space, Astoria never actually achieved divinity, whereas Enoch did. According to some texts, Enoch actually became an archangel by the name of Metatron. And Metatron is kind of like God's second in command in a lot of ways. He attends God's throne and executes his will directly, while also recording all of the deeds of man. A callback to his time as a scribe on Earth. Now, in some texts, God made Metatron chief of the archangels, and in others, Metatron is actually conflated with the archangel Michael himself. Seems like a superfluous detail, except that
wait, what?
Metatron, chief of the Archangels, and in others, Metatron is actually conflated with the Archangel Michael himself. Seems like a superfluous detail, except that in Genshin, the Archangels are actually literally the four shades. I made a theory about this ages ago where I decrypted Nona's Scryglass, pointing out that each cardinal direction actually referred to one of the four Archangels, Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel, and Michael. And now that Nicole has recently proved the four shades are Archangels by calling Istaroth an Archangel in her voice line about Zabai, and I can now draw a line between Asmodee and Enoch and Metatron, I would therefore like to submit the idea that Asmodee is supposed to be Metatron. Because not only is Asmodee part of the Archangels, but she is also the sustainer of the heavenly principles. So she'd be fulfilling the same role as Metatron, who carries out God's decrees. And following a great disaster, she created an ark, a means to conserve the memories of life, just like Noah did, and just like the scribe Enoch and Metatron would do. Oh, and also the attendants of her ark are the Watchers.
So it's her because she's acting as an equal of Enoch, who equals Metatron, and Enoch, aka Metatron, is a great-great-great-great-grandfather of Noah, who made the ark, so they're related because they're in the same family line. So even though Asmodee equals Metatron, she's also partially like the great-great-great-great-grandson of Enoch, aka Metatron, who created the ark. I get what she's putting down.
Now this alone would be a pretty cool series of little references. Just some fun little factoids to talk about.
See, I can
but
pay
I can't
attention.
be the only one who was wondering why Hoyoverse would even want to associate Asmodee with Metatron in the first place. So after thinking about it a little bit, I think the reason for this association is twofold. First, Metatron is called Lesser Yahweh, and in some views, albeit heretical, Metatron was considered the other half of the dual powers ruling heaven theory. This theory is found in a passage of the Talmud where
I missed what she said. I was reading. What?
Lesser Yahweh, and in some views, albeit heretical, Metatron was considered the other half of the dual powers ruling heaven theory. This theory is found in a passage of the Talmud where someone encounters Metatron and wonders if he and God actually shared power together, since Metatron was allowed to sit on God's throne. But rather than say God and Metatron split power equally or co-rule the world or something, the title of Lesser Yahweh is likely more a reference to how Metatron was the executor of God's will. This is why in some branches of the Kabbalah, especially in Theosophy, the very first Sephiroth was said to be occupied by Metatron. This Sephiroth, Keter, or the crown, is supposed to be the place at which all of God's light originates from. Consider it the equivalent of the throne of God. From his position on God's throne, Metatron takes God's light and filters it down through the other Sephiroth of the Tree of Life.
Oh, that goddamn thing again. Please.
Forming reality. Now, it appears as though Asmodee's power, like the Theosophic Metatron, is one that shapes reality. I'm going to talk about why this is and how I got there and how it works in a minute, but for now, let me introduce you to Metatron's cube. Now, before anyone gets mad at me, let me add a quick disclaimer before I explain why I'm showing you this.
Cube.
First off, I want to recognize that this shape in particular, under the name of
hexagon.
Metatron's cube, basically exists as a part of sacred geometry and
Yeah, hexagon.
Isn't technically part of any sort of formalized religion. This shape does, however, appear in the Sefer Yetzirah, but not under the name of Metatron's cube. As far as I know, it's unlabeled. And look, I have scrubbed the bowels of the internet looking for an origin story for this thing. But because this Metatron cube symbol is so pervasive and prolific throughout the New Age space, I literally cannot find a reputable source for its origins. If you know where it actually came from, let me know, because the only reputable roots I can find tie back to the 13th century mathematician Fibonacci.
Fibonacci sequence. Hold on, wait, what's she saying? She's saying that it's Metatron's cube. She doesn't have a
cube. One that's in a minute, but for now, let me introduce you to Metatron's cube. Now, before anyone gets mad at me, let me add a quick disclaimer before I explain why I'm showing you this. First off, I want to recognize that this
hex and circle. Hold on a minute. The dots are connecting.
Shape, in particular, under the name of Metatron's cube, basically exists as a part of sacred geometry and isn't technically part of any sort of formalized religion. This shape does, however, appear in the Sefer Yetzirah, but not under the name of Metatron's cube. As far as I know, it's unlabeled. And look, I have scrubbed the bowels of the internet looking for an origin story.
Oh, so she's saying that the shape in the Sefer Yetzirah is unlabeled and doesn't have a name. But elsewhere, it's called Metatron's cube.
For this thing. But because this Metatron cube symbol is so pervasive and prolific throughout the New Age space, I literally cannot find a reputable source for its origins. If you know where it actually came from, let me know, because the only reputable roots I can find tie back to the 13th century mathematician Fibonacci.
Great guy, by the way.
I don't have a source for that. So, allegedly, Fibonacci named this shape after Metatron because it contains all 5 platonic solids, which are these 3D objects on screen right now. Now, each platonic solid corresponds with one of the 4 classical elements, earth, air, water, and fire, plus one more to represent the ether. Now, to Platonists...
Wait, ether? That's the main character. Hold on.
These platonic solids and the classical elements were the building blocks of the universe. In other words, they are the basis for constructing reality, which is what Metatron does, hence Metatron's cube. Now what?
And then the 6th part is the Lumine energy. Hold on now.
While I'm uncertain about the story of Fibonacci being true, when you translate the Metatron's cube into 3D, it does in fact contain all of the platonic solids, so at least that part is true. And I don't think being a part of popular culture or sacred geometry really precludes this symbol from being referenced by Hoyoverse, so I'm gonna roll with it, especially because this shape should be really familiar to you. It's technically a stellated octahedron, and we see these throughout Genshin in various configurations. In Genshin, this is the shape of a star. And in both Genshin and the real world, everything is made of stardust. And that's kind of the cool thing about Metatron's cube.
You and me,
it's a shape
buddy.
that contains the building blocks of literally every other shape, in the same way that a star contains all of the materials to make any other thing that exists within the universe. And now that you have this context, I think it's time I explained why this power over form, this power to shape reality, is the power of space. In the same way Platonists believe the classical elements are the
what the moon energy called in Genshin in the next patch? Lumine. Holy fuck. Lumine? Hold on now. Hold on.
building blocks of reality, the 7 elements of Tevat serve as the building blocks of Tevat. You can kind of think of them as Lego bricks, small uniform shapes waiting to be arranged and assembled into a more complex shape. And it's these complex shapes that we recognize as the material world. Asmodee's temple puts this idea on full display, as many of the exhibits within require elemental cubes to be collected and arranged within a display case for the true form of the exhibit to be revealed.
Okay.
Now, since the 7 elements in Genshin equate to the different colors in the visible light spectrum, something like a white light emitted by a star should in theory contain all of the elements. And if elements are
like
the basis to produce
energy.
every form in existence, and a star's light contains all elements, then a star's light also contains the potential to create any form. So you can argue that it's a form that contains all other forms, just like a Metatron star. This also lines up with the Theosophic Metatron, who effectively splits and shapes the light of God to form reality. And
wait, there's another Metatron? The what Metatron?
Contains all other forms, just like a Metatron star. This also lines up with the Theosophic Metatron, who effectively splits and shapes the light of God to form reality. And because you can use the elements found within a star to make anything within reality, a star becomes the most simplistic but holistic representation of the universe itself. Now, this is hardly a respectable body of evidence to try and prove that the power of space is the power to shape reality. So what else could we use? Well, let's take another look at Asmodee's title, The Shade of Space. Because see, space isn't just about space-time vectors or directionality. It's also about emptiness, the space within which something exists. And that is why the original Chinese text calls space a void, which is synonymous with like the vast expanse of empty outer space. The emptiness matters here. Now, Asmodee and her watchers reside in the cage of suchness, which you can only really reach by passing through the corridor of nothingness. Nothingness is pretty easy to connect to emptiness, obviously, but suchness is the real point of interest here because it's a reference to the Buddhist concept of tathata, which is sometimes translated into English as true suchness or emptiness. But tathata is also what we call the ultimate reality or the true reality of all phenomena, or simply the reality realm. And it is really difficult to explain this concept, and I am no expert on Buddhism, but for our purposes, you can kind of think of it like a realm or a state of being in which nothing and everything exists at the same time because a thing is everything it's ever experienced, both its creation and its destruction, and everything in between those 2 points. So the tathata of an object or a person is its totality or entirety of its existence. To put it another way, if you took the beginning, middle, and end of a story and confined it within the boundaries of paper and leather, then the resulting book that contains all of the story would be the tathata equivalent.
Okay, I gotcha.
At least that's how I understand the concept. I know I'm missing a lot of nuance here, but I'm kind of going for a broader understanding of this topic because it's very complex, and I am, again, no expert. Now, if you had any doubt that suchness was referring to tathata, the Chinese name...
But it's saying that this is the cage of suchness, so this is the beginning and end all at the same time within this cage?
This area is actually the cage of neither existence nor non-existence, which is literally tathata, the ultimate reality. It's the totality of the concept, before, during, and after it exists. Now, as far as I can tell, the philosophy of tathata is generally associated with the teachings of Nagarjuna, or at the very least, he's the one who's most famous for them. And Hoyo makes references to Nagarjuna and his writings a bunch of times throughout the game. Nagarjuna's Bodhisattva Vivarana text is actually...
Excuse me, what? Dude, hold on, I need a second. I need a goddamn second because these words are coming at me at the speed of light and hold on. You know what's crazy? If this is the same energy that was used to create the firmament, then we're asking the wrong question. The real question isn't how the firmament was created. ... Try saying that 5 times fast. I'm not gonna do that, okay? Look, oh my god, okay. Cage is nothing but everything all at the same time, tathata. That part, this is the magic used to hide Tevat from destruction. I mean, it's a good point. It's a very good point. If the firmament is the same thing... Okay, let's back up a second here. Hold on.
Which is literally tathata, the ultimate reality. It's the totality of the concept, before, during, and after it exists. Now, as far as I can tell, the philosophy of tathata is generally associated with the teachings of Nagarjuna, or at the very least, he's the one who's most famous for them. And Hoyo makes references to Nagarjuna and his writings a bunch of times throughout the game. Nagarjuna's Bodhisattva Vivarana text is actually
Bodhisattva Vivarana. Oh, that's super easy. Wait a minute, that's way easier than I thought it was. Bodhisattva Vivarana. Wait, what?
His writings a bunch of times throughout the game. Nagarjuna's Bodhisattva Vivarana text is actually pretty easy to digest if you want to read more about how emptiness is totality, so I'll leave a link to an online copy for you in the description. In any case, you can see references to this type of philosophy throughout the Temple of Space, and it's deeply tied to these themes of emptiness, which is related to the concept of space. Hence why I'm saying this ultimate reality power is related to the power of space that Asmodee wields. Now, if something enters a state of emptiness or formlessness, which is another way you can say it, they technically enter a state of potential because when a form is abandoned, what's left is its myriad parts. It's kind of how like the exhibits in the temple were disassembled and then turned into elemental blocks. Those are the myriad parts. Those blocks or pieces have forgotten the form they're supposed to make up. And that's where the hypostasis come in. So these bosses are described in-game as life forms that have completely abandoned their former appearance, allowing them to reach the highest level of elemental purity. In other words, they are the result of something that has lost its form and therefore has regressed into its elemental building blocks. Which makes sense because in philosophy, hypostasis is what we call the underlying substance that supports reality, and in Teyvat, the stuff that makes up reality is elemental energy. In Chinese, however, the hypostasis are actually called wuxing, which refers to the Buddhist concept of animita. That's when an entity lacks distinguishing characteristics or a discernible form. Essentially, it's a reflection of an entity's true nature and is thus related to the concept of tathata or emptiness we talked about earlier. Fittingly, hypostasis generally appear wherever there's a high density of elemental energy or in places where the ley lines have clogged. And this is of interest to me specifically because ley lines carry both elemental energy and memories, and I think the reason why elemental energy enters a state of formlessness is because it lacks memory. Throughout the Temple of Space, you'll find memory factors, which can be offered up to the memory core in the central pillar area. Not only are both the memory factors and the memory core cubic, like the elemental building blocks, but the description of the memory factors even calls them building blocks. But not building blocks of matter, building blocks of civilization. Now, I think when it comes to an act of...
I mean, let's be real. All a civilization is a culmination of its memories, no? Look at what happened to the great Alexandria Library. Once that sucker went up in smoke, everyone got dumb. Everyone got stupider. Where do you think we'd be in the world if that library didn't go up in smoke? I'd say we'd at least be a couple centuries further. I'd say we'd be in like whatever we get in like 2200 is where we'd be at right now if the library didn't go up in smoke. I'll be honest.
Creation, memory would play the role of a blueprint or a set of instructions that the creator would use to shape raw elemental material into a specific form. So combining the blueprint of memory with the material building blocks of elemental energy, you can create a material object. And that's exactly what happens when we gather all the memory factors. Those memory fragments interact with the elemental energy and new material exhibits are built based on those memory fragments. So I think the reason why there's a memory core...
Well, it's also interesting too because, like Nicole said, and like we've been saying, is our teapot and Nicole's kind of area, you know, well, let's just reference Nicole's area, right? When we're in her area, we see the big Temple of Space area. She's like, this is just a culmination of my memories, or this is all just my memories, right? And if the Temple of Space ends up being like a little cube, a little teapot area, right? It's not actually large as it is. It's just a culmination of the memories, right? It's just where the memories are. And then once we find the memories, and these things actually get formed because we saved the memory, kind of, right? Am I super simplifying this? Or am I making sense at all? That's how my brain is making sense of it.
In the central pillar area is because the most important thing Asmodee needs to preserve is the memories of a lost civilization. Cause like, elemental energy is everywhere in Teyvat. So long as she has a memory blueprint to work with, she should be able to use any kind of elemental energy to build something recognizable from those blueprints. So it's the memories that are fragile and rare and desperately need to be preserved. And that's why the memory core at the center of the temple is also called the heart of the world. It's the most crucial element. And this is how I arrived at the conclusion that the power of space is the power to shape reality by ordering formless elemental energy with the memory of a given form. And it's funny because when you start to think of it this way, you may be inclined to call Asmodee a potter. Because if elements are like soil and memory is water and mixing the two produces a sort of malleable clay from which infinite forms can be made, then that might explain why the Temple of Space is called Segment Domain Tao. Tao in Chinese means pottery. So the way I see it, this is a reference to how God created the first man from clay. I mean, even his name, Adam, comes from Adama, or soil, in reference to this event. So this Temple of Space is serving as an arc of humanity specifically. Now, in fairness, Tau can also represent the Hebrew letter of the same name, which carries the meaning of truth, or the Greek letter of the same name, which
The
represents
real truth.
life. Personally, I choose to believe this name is supposed to reference all of these things, because creating the ultimate reality or true reality is what I think Asmodee is supposed to do.
Real. Which is why she doesn't want the people who are in there to write these fictional stories, because they're banned. Those fictional stories are banned. Okay? Why? Because that's not the real reality. You guys are making fake shit up. You guys aren't part of the real world anymore. Okay? We're saving the real world. Okay? And you guys can't write these stories. Memory core, aka maybe it's one of the Arc genetic vault with a memory cube to create civilization. Imagine Arc having 5 artifacts to rise to civilization, but space can make a life, can't make life. What? Space can make life out of memories.
Is supposed to manage. And the angel I've been associating her with is Metatron, who is also called the Angel of Life, that guards the Tree of Life. Now, I know this kind of makes Asmodee's abilities sound...
Okay, that's so weird. The fact that you type that, and then I say that, and then this thing... The Tree of Life, see? Megatron can make you. Hold on, we need to back up, because now I got
because
lost.
creating the ultimate reality or true reality is what I think Asmodee is supposed to do, or at least supposed to manage. And the angel I've been associating her with is Metatron, who is also called the Angel of Life, that guards the Tree of Life. Now, I know this kind of makes Asmodee's abilities sound a little too similar to the Shade of Life, but the two have some very important differences.
Yeah, what's
For
the
starters,
difference?
I'm arguing that space powers govern all shapes, not just those of the living. And also, just because Asmodee could make something human-shaped doesn't mean it would be alive. Just as God had to infuse his clay atom with the spark or breath of life, so too would Asmodee need to have life breathed into her human-shaped
So she can make the physical object from the memories, and then she's got to hit up the other shade to be like, hey, come breathe into his mouth. Give him a life. Let him be alive.
This is likely why it's so important for the Temple of Space to be populated by living individuals that are held in stasis. Recreating shapes is pretty easy, but bringing it to life probably isn't something Asmodee can do. Not even in the case of her Watchers. Because, like, her Watchers are technically mechanical life forms. They're not alive in the same way people are. So it's the more spiritual, biologic side of life that I think the Shade of Life governs over.
Okay,
Which
yeah,
is
that
not to
makes
say
sense.
that Rhine-Daughter or Nibarius can't also shape things. I think they're just limited to living things. Besides, we know that Rhine-Daughter at least made a lot of experimental life forms out of abyssal material that she called humus, which is named after a type of soil. So that's another pottery or clay reference. In any case, I don't actually think the boundaries between the Shade's powers are very clear-cut. I think they're a bit
true.
Because, like, even though Renova governs over death, she can also grant people eternal life and resurrect them when they die, which kind of feels like it treads into Rhine-Daughter's territory. So I'm not really gonna fuss about how and where these Shade powers...
Yeah, their power bleeds a little bit. And you want to know why? It's because the 4 of them combined make up the HP. I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you, every patch leans towards it. And therefore, while they may just represent a piece, they may represent a major piece. Right? A major piece. Their power bleeds. It just does. It bleeds over.
Powers overlap. I mean, their powers do come from a single split authority. So,
and that's why when you get
powers overlap. I mean, their
reason, life, death, time, and space. We have life, death, time, and space. Just like before the Sword of Reason, we had life, death, time, and space. But when you put all 4 together, that's when you get reason. That's when we got the Sword of Reason.
Their powers do come from a single split authority, so it makes sense to me if the boundaries are a little wonky.
Yeah,
That
see,
said, it
a
does
single
seem like
split
a lot
authority.
Of this overlap occurs wherever memories are involved.
Hold
Asmodee
on.
uses memory for blueprints, Istaroth keeps memories as recorded history, Rhine-Daughter probably works with the stuff like genetic memory, and Renova wipes memories. Part of me does wonder if this memory overlap here is meant to reference how digital Tevat is feeling these days. Because no matter what the system process is within a computer, they all have to touch memory at some.
I agree with this. Ooh, I like that. She's saying, oh, it's like since it's on a computer, they're all like hitting the RAM. Or they're all hitting, you know, they all gotta, whether it's they're all touching the RAM at different times to use that memory power, or they're, you know, feeding different parts from a hard drive. That makes sense, because it is very computer-like. I'm glad and I hope that we're getting away from that Tevat, or not Tevat, HP being spaceship AI. I think we're away from that. I really do. I think we've separated away from HP equaling our ship AI. I think we're past that now. Everyone good now? I think so. I hope so. God, I hope so. The HP has to be a distinct individual, and that is Far and Wife lore confirmed now. Well, define distinct individual, sir.
Point, you know? Anyway, that basically wraps up my thoughts on the power of space and Asmodee's responsibilities. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about what we learned about Asmodee as a person. Because, and this might surprise you, I have a theory about her.
Ooh,
One of the most pervasive and least talked about themes within the Temple of Space is the theme of melancholy. Many of the references I went over in part 1 focus on the concept of melancholy. The final volumes of Vera's Melancholy are found here. The people trapped within the temple are in a constant battle against melancholy. Melanta himself suffers from it, and even the story of Lind and Hilda focuses on the struggle against melancholy.
Everybody's just depressed. They're all depressed. It's sad. It's sad time. Sad time. They're all depressed. The gods are depressed. Depressed and bored.
And at one point, Historia explains that the reason why Asmodee named her two watchers, Nyalita and Melanta, is because they represented the two feelings that she struggled with.
The game says nothingness instead of nihilism, but nothingness isn't an emotion and nihilism stems from nothingness, so roll with me here. Okay.
Nyalita and Melanta is because they represented the two feelings that she struggled with the most, nihilism and melancholy. Which means Asmodee likely suffers from depression, or at least did for a long time. Perhaps since the War of Funerary Flame, since that kind of lines up with the moment her attitude seems to have changed. And this idea is more important than you might think, because as Melanta says,
HP is a brand of computers. I hate you for even saying that. Oh my god. MIG, take a time out. Take a time out. Damn you for saying that. No, hey, I've always said HP could be well, Tevat could be a computer, HP could be a computer. Doesn't mean he's our ship's computer. That was my biggest gripe when that whole theory came out, is it does not mean we're the ship's computer, please, and thank you.
And this idea is more important than you might think, because as Melanta says, if a god suffers from depression, their options are limited. There's no god therapist to talk to, no god doctor to get medication from, so the only options left are to either suffer.
Hold on, what about that? Who's the therapist in Lucifer? That lady did a damn good job. Although, I mean, Lucifer's not a god, but I mean, sheesh. I mean, he might as well be, you know. And she did a damn good job of healing him, I think. Actually, no. Now that I think about it, he never listened to her. He just walked away after he solved his own problem. I'm sure they could find a therapist. Radish. I'm sure you could reference a therapist for the gods to speak to, right?
To no god doctor to get medication from, so the only options left are to either suffer in silence or attempt to carve out the part of them that causes the melancholy in the first place. Which does come with its own set of problems, like weakness or instability.
True.
And I would like to point out that the keeper, or rather the sustainer, mentioned in the Traveler's character story, is fading. So it's possible that this is exactly what Asmodee did. She may have carved out a piece of herself so that she could grow numb to the melancholy, and in doing so, she's made herself a little bit unstable. I know this seems like a bit of a big stretch, but just hear me out. And also, my apologies, but it's about to get a little fanficky in here for a bit. Now, initially, I think Asmodee actually had a pretty positive view of her role and master, you know, Phanes.
Hold on, real quick, hold on, I have to rewind this part. What?
This is exactly, and I would like to point out that it does come with its own set of problems, like weakness or instability.
Carving a piece of yourself out, yes. Weakness or instability.
And I would like to point out that the keeper, or rather the sustainer, mentioned
keeper is fading away. The creator has not yet come, but the world shall burn no more, for you shall ascend.
And in the Traveler's character story, is fading. So it's possible that this is exactly what Asmodee did. She may have carved out a piece of herself so that she could grow numb to the melancholy, and in doing so, she's made herself a little bit unstable. I know this seems like a bit of a big stretch, but just hear me out. And also, my apologies, but it's about to get a little fanficky in here for a bit. Now, initially, I think Asmodee actually had a pretty positive view of her role and master, Phanes. I think she was pretty content with her job. But then she witnessed the incredible destruction of the War of Funerary Flame. And although she did her best to save what little she—
Oh, you know what? That's what I wish he kind of went into. That crying guy, when we just watched that video about the artifacts. Thinking about it right here, right now. Is I kind of wish he, put an opinion down there about what he thought about the shades, because I believe it was also in there a little bit that it kind of seemed like the HP's initial intentions were good, and that the shades were kind of, it made sense why the shades would, follow the initial directive of the HP, but now it kind of seems like maybe they're not. Maybe all of them are, I don't want to say going rogue, but defecting on the initial directive of the HP, or maybe it's just the three of them and Asmodee's still following, or Asmodee's defecting. But I really think that all of them are in their own way defecting from the original directive of the HP, because whether it was him going to sleep or whatever happened, allowed them to open up a little bit and get away from his direct influence. But I don't really know, because I can't, my main core of me still feels like the four of them separated, merged, makes up HP. So that kind of doesn't really make sense if, he's asleep and then, now all of a sudden that they've come to this realization that, hey, maybe the prime directive wasn't exactly something we should have been following. But it could have been the HP on his own, splitting himself up to be like, that's exactly what it took for that directive to completely shift. I don't know. I don't know how to really explain that part, but something seems off about all the shades in following what the HP wanted to do. Or what the initial goal of the HP was. What the initial, directive of the HP was.
Phanes. I think she was pretty content with her job. But then she witnessed the incredible destruction of the War of Funerary Flame. And although she did her best to save what little she couldn't save everyone or every memory. Over time, she grew disillusioned with her work and the futility of her efforts to protect and preserve human civilization, and she succumbed to melancholy. And one day, she caught sight of a shooting star, a spaceship that snuck through border security and landed in Nod Cry. Someone then exited that spaceship to survey the area. This is the Abyss Twin. And whether it was protocol or curiosity that drove her to do it, Asmodee then uplifted the Abyss Twin and locked them inside of one of Renova's Maranasati caskets, just like she would any other uplifted individual. But because the Abyss Twin was an Outlander that did not belong to this world, Asmodee moved them from the apathic interval to the Cage of Suchness, just like she did with the other Outlander, the author of Vera's Melancholy. Now, the purpose of the Maranasati caskets is to strip the individuals of certain memories or desires by forcing them into a state of meditation. For native Tavatians, this is to ensure that they cannot receive a vision and thus bind themselves to the fate of the world. If that were to happen, they would no longer qualify as a living specimen and would have to leave the exhibit. For Outlanders, this is probably more of a safety protocol, a temporary holding cell until they eject them from the border of Tevat. Now at this point, I think Asmodee may have realized something about the Abyss Twin. Whether she noticed their unique constitution, like the ability to absorb an infinite amount of abyssal material, or whether she witnessed something within their memories that caught her attention while they were being erased by the casket.
I thought that was one of the coolest parts, though. That's when they brought us back all the way to the beginning, dude. That was such a cool, nostalgic moment. Have you tried to imagine Traveler uses shades as artifacts in the endgame and become the new HP?
I'm not really sure.
I've said with the artifacts, I'm curious if once we get more lore, if the artifact sets will become like a 5-piece stat effect. Like if they'll introduce that. Like obviously we have 4 right now. We can always have an off piece, but I'm curious to see if like we'll get a 5-piece stat set as the game continues, or as HP is like revealed, you know?
Like the ability to absorb an infinite amount of abyssal material, or whether she witnessed something within their memories that caught her attention while they were being erased by the casket, I'm not really sure. But whatever happened, I do think it made Asmodee realize that this person was the same type of entity as her current master Phanes. And that meant it was possible for this Outlander to dethrone them. Now I know that sounds like a big claim, but we have to acknowledge the fact that Asmodee's new master is the Abyss Twin. We know this basically to be a fact because of what Melanda says in the Temple of Space. And the primary goal of the Abyss Twin is to overthrow the Heavenly Principles.
Damn right.
So we can only assume that Asmodee's...
It's my main goal too. Fuck that guy. I'm telling you, I'm in line with the Abyss Twin at this point, okay? I'm in line.
Goals are in line with the Abyss Twins.
Me too!
Now, as for the reason why Asmodee would even want to support this endeavor, well, I can think of 2 potential reasons. The first reason is that she might not believe Phanes even cares about humanity with how easily they destroy the disobedient ones like they did during the War of Funerary Flame. Destroying the humans that Asmodee has been protecting for so long makes her efforts feel pointless and futile, hence her melancholy. The second reason could be that during the war, Asmodee came to understand that Teyvat didn't belong to Phanes or humanity. It belonged to the dragons. I know technically Asmodee would have been part of the fight against the dragons in the first place, not during the War of Funerary Flame, but before that. I think it was just during the Funerary War that it sank in, you know? And if this is the case, it makes her opening line of the irrigation of mankind ends now make a little bit more sense, because it would refer to humans stealing a planet that doesn't belong to them. But honestly, I can argue both these cases and a couple more, so I'm not really gonna fuss about the reason so much, because most evidence in general just points to the fact that she believes Phanes needs to be replaced, so we're just gonna roll with that. Now, you would assume in order to get rid of a Descender, you would need a Descender yourself, right? And the Abyss Twin clearly is not a Descender. And I won't try to argue that they are or ever were. But the thing is, the only thing we know for certain about Descenders is that they need to have a will that rivals a world. And it seems strange to me that 2 twins wouldn't have the same level of will, you know? So there has to be an additional component.
Well, dude, yeah. I mean, in that, I was saying it earlier with that other video, is like, did we ever really come here with a will to rival the world in the first place? We don't really know what first brought us here, do we? Like, we actually just don't. We could have just been here fucking on vacation. We know Hoyo loves that, you know? Let's go to Plan Arcadia on vacation. Let's go to Penacony on vacation. It never works out. HP alone versus the dragons? Yeah, I think it's assumed because we never have any text saying that the shades are like, whether they're there or not. Like, there is no text saying the shades are there, so it's kind of like a, hey, if it's more of like an assumption that if the shades were there, this is what side they would have fought on. Probably.
And I think that additional component is compassion for the planet that they're trying to be a descender of. And that's based on a conversation that the track will be an additional component. Twins wouldn't have the same level of will, you know? So there has to be an additional component. And I think that additional component...
Oh, wait, yeah, she's saying additional component to be a descender.
World. And it seems strange to me that 2 twins wouldn't have the same level of will, you know? So there has to be an additional component, and I think that additional component is compassion for the planet that they're trying to be a descender of. And that's based on a conversation that the Traveler had with Skirk when they asked her whether or not she was a descender, and she said no, but I guess I kind of could be. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
But then that's just based off of memories, because our memories are wiped. So, like, we can't remember our home. So that's why we feel that way, and we call Teyvat our home. But, like, we're just accruing these memories. Like, I think it's got to be more than just a compassion for the world, because I mean, unless that's just how they're writing our character in to be off rip, as we're just a super compassionate person with no memories, you know what I mean? Like, I guess it makes sense, but just being compassion too seems a little weird, because we literally have, like, nothing to go off of, you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine just spawning in and just being like, oh yeah, I'm here to be compassionate to this world, and, like, that's what we end up doing over time, but off rip, no.
You know, she left the possibility open that she could be one, but she isn't. And it's almost as if she isn't by choice. So I think a Descender not only needs a very powerful will, but they also need to care about the planet and what happens to it. Asmodee may have known.
Because at first, our main purpose was to find our sibling. Like, we just went there trying to find our guy, our brother, our sister. You know? That was our fucking core objective. Over time, it changed. I don't know. There's more to the Descender stuff for sure.
Known that, or maybe she just.
I mean, I think it's more than just compassion for the planet too.
About the planet and what happens to it. Asmodee may have known that, or maybe she just wants to have a master that does care about the same thing she cares about. So if she wanted this new Outlander to be her new master, then she would need to get them to care about the world. But an outsider would have outside attachments, memories from their time living beyond the firmament. So I think Asmodee used the Maranasati casket to strip the Abyss Twin of all of their memories so that they would become a blank slate. And then she left them in Conria, where the other gods would not notice them. That's why the twin wakes up in Conria with no memories, and because they had no memories, they imprinted upon Conria and came to love it as if it were their hometown.
Yeah.
And while they learned to love the land and its people, they also grew to resent the heavenly principles for forsaking the people of Conria.
But they still didn't become a Descender.
In Asmodee's plan, because the Abyss Twin didn't arrive in Teyvat alone. Their sibling was still hibernating on board the spaceship, and the more time passed, the more the Abyss Twin's memories began to recover, and they longed to see their sibling. And then one night, an abyssal catastrophe struck Conria, but the twin wasn't there to help because the only thing more important to them and their new home was their only remaining family. So they went to Nod Cry, found their spaceship, woke their sibling, and ran. Why they didn't take their spaceship? I don't know. Maybe it was broken, or maybe Asmodee boxed it.
I mean,
in
in that condition, it was definitely fucking broken.
Use it. Whatever the reason, they eventually reached the firmament. And Asmodee, frustrated, revealed herself, determined to try her plan again with her chosen master. And that meant getting rid of their distracting sibling, at least temporarily, because she can't kill them. So she sent the Abyss Twin to Sumeru, where they dealt with the fallout of the Cataclysm, while the Traveler was put to sleep, potentially in a Maranasati casket, for 500 years. Now let's pause this story for a second, because something really important happens at this time. And that important.
Well, how is that? How are you continuing? That's I don't know, man. Is it just gonna spawn the fucking Descender? You know what I mean? Like, is it just gonna spawn the Descender trait after like more time to care about the world? Like, no, obviously not, because we spawned in with it. That's why I don't understand. Maybe I'm not following exactly what she's saying here, but like, it's assumed that we're spawning in with it pretty much. Is it because we had influence from the Hexen Circle? That's more likely at this point.
Important something is the creation of Paimon. Hear me out. Paimon's origins are extremely vague and highly.
Don't. Don't. She's gonna say it, isn't she? She's gonna say Paimon is something Asmodee, isn't she?
Contested, and so is
she's
her
gonna
age.
say the thing.
Paimon seems to believe that she's less than 400 years old, but the Melazines are convinced that she's a lot older than that. And Melazines are known for seeing things a bit differently. Some might even say they can only see the truth. And in my opinion, if we are to accept the Melazines' claim, say they can only see the truth.
Are we serious, editor? Editor, are we serious?
And in my opinion, if we are to accept the Melazine's claim that Paimon is like a rainbow balloon with a string extending into the sky, which is something widely accepted throughout the theorist community and often used as a means to connect her to Phanes, then we should believe the Melazines when they imply that Paimon is over 400 years old. Assuming that's true, her time of birth would be around the time of the Cataclysm, potentially. Now, two of the most popular theories regarding Paimon's origins claim
That's
she's
100 fucking year difference, dude. That's not just like a year, bro. That's 100 years.
either a fragment of Phanes or a fragment of Asmodee, and I think regardless of which one you subscribe to, it makes the most sense for Paimon to be around 500 years old because that's the moment when Phanes went to sleep and Asmodee went missing. Now, I can personally argue both sides here, and in fact, I'm going to, but not
she's gonna say she's
in the way that you'd think, because I don't think this is an either
part
or
Phanes
situation.
and part
I think
Asmodee?
it's possible, if not likely, that Paimon is related to both Phanes and Asmodee.
Oh, Christ. Oh, boy, man. Okay, hold on. I need to prepare my brain. I need to prepare my brain for this one. I've always said, let's just let Paimon be Paimon until Paimon is revealed to be something other than Paimon, but god damn it, here we go. Alright, hit me with it, Ash Guy. Hit me with something new and juicy, okay? Because I'll tell you, the stuff I've heard before doesn't convince me, so I have a feeling if somebody can convince me, it's her, though.
Here's how I think this plays out.
Go ahead.
Generally speaking, when we think of Phanes, we're actually thinking of the Phanes that was born from the cosmic egg of Ananke and Kronos Ion. And since that Phanes was a god of creation, it makes sense if Tevat's version of Phanes is also a god of creation. So this connection makes sense, right? Plus, it's not like there's any other god named Phanes, right? Wrong. There is another god named Phanes, a Gnostic one too. There's the Eon Proto-Phanes. And I think Proto-Phanes deserves a bit more attention than he's been getting because in the same way Genshin's Phanes has four shades of themselves, Proto-Phanes is a combination of his four luminary aspects. Luminaries are kind of like subdivisions of an eon. It's like having a circle that you split into four quadrants. Each quadrant is a luminary, but the circle is the eon.
Like Lumine.
And you need all four quadrants of the circle to make up the circle. But each quadrant can also exist independently. This is a characteristic that the other Phanes, the one born of Ananke and Kronos Ion, lacks. And this idea of a god being made up of four lesser gods is pretty similar to Genshin's moon goddesses, right? Like, there were originally only 3 moon goddesses, but when they combined their power, they formed a 4th moon goddess. So what we thought were 3 goddesses was actually 4 goddesses. It's the rule of 3 that's actually 4. And given the fact that the followers of the Crimson Moon, like Arlecchino, boast a plethora of similarities to Asmodee's Watchers, and the fact that the Trilunar Authority embodies the same 4 concepts governed by the Shades, I think we can safely assume that the Shades and the Moons operate in similar ways. That is to say, if 3 moons can combine their powers to form a 4th power, which awakens a new appropriate host in Columbina, then 4 shades should be able to combine their powers to create a 5th power and awaken an appropriate host by the name of Phanes.
Fuck you, Radish, okay? I've been saying this for how long? Months, if not years. And now I finally have a reputable person in this field saying the same thing. Oh my God. I've been saying this for too long. And it's all thanks to how a Proto-Phanes works, and the evidence through Columbina, and the Moon Sisters taking their 3 powers and combining it into Columbina that now, boom! 4 shades, 1 HP, kablamo!
But the big problem we have with Columbina, then 4 shades should be able to combine their powers to create a 5th power and awaken an appropriate host by the name of Phanes. But the big problem we have with Phanes right now is that one of the shades, Asmodee,
is gone!
Is missing.
Is gone, she's missing. They need to find her because they cannot form Phanes without finding the 4th one because you need all 4 parts to combine and make him. Oh my god, say it. Finish it for
and
me.
has been missing for exactly the same length of time that Phanes has been apparently sleeping.
Finish
and I
it
really
for
think
me.
it's possible that Phanes isn't waking up because Asmodee is missing. Because I would think that unless there's something restricting Phanes from waking up, burning down Irminsul, which was enforcing their oh so important fate system, should have woken them up.
I said the same thing when I played the quest. That's what I'm talking about. If there's gonna be something to wake this guy up, there's no way that he's like it's gotta be the thing that's erasing the core of his goddamn world, dude. Like, he's gotta wake up. And if he doesn't wake up, he's not real. If he doesn't wake up, there's another reason why. It's because he can't. He's in a coma. Boom.
And as far as we know, it didn't. Now, I do think there's one really important difference between the shades.
I mean, I did say, to be fair though, the patch did just happen. We haven't even gotten to the next patch yet, okay? That's the benefit of the doubt, okay? But
woken them up. And as far as we know, it didn't. Now, I do think there's one really important difference between the shades and the moons, and that difference is individuality. As far as we know, the 3 moons are individuals and not aspects of Columbina, nor are they considered aspects of Nibelung. But the shades are described as being part of Phanes, as if Phanes split themselves into 4 pieces.
Exactly.
And this is really interesting to me because there is only one instance that I can find in the whole game where Phanes could have appeared alongside one of their shades.
Where?
In every other incident, Phanes appears alone, or the shades appear without Phanes. Like, Phanes fought the dragons alone, according to Before Sun and Moon. It was only after their victory that they created 4 shining shades of themselves. And notably, during the War of Funerary Flame, Phanes is mentioned as fighting Nibelung, but the shades aren't mentioned anywhere. And that's what got me thinking of the 4 shades being—
Wait, what's the one instance where they might show up at the same time?
Shades appear that I can find in the whole game where Phanes could have appeared alongside one of their shades. In every other incident, Phanes appears alone, or the shades appear without Phanes. Like, Phanes fought the dragons alone, according to Before Sun and Moon. It was only after their victory that they created 4 shining shades of themselves. And notably, during the War of Funerary Flame, Phanes is mentioned as fighting Nibelung, but the shades aren't mentioned anywhere. And that's what got me thinking of the 4 shades being 4 parts of Phanes. Plus, the shades are also known as shadows in Chinese, and that can reference countless things, such as the shades spirits that walk along the river Styx in Greek mythology, or the Shut or shadow self of Egyptian mythology, or the concept of the cognitive shadow found in Jungian psychology. But no matter which way you look, these shadows all have one thing in common. They are all either containing a key aspect of the person they belong to, or they are a reflection of that person, and in that way are a part of that person. Which is part of the reason why I'm so convinced that all 4 shades need to come together to unlock Phanes.
Exactly, dude. Why else would they be so dead set on finding her? I mean, I guess you could argue other reasons why they'd be dead set on finding her, but bro, it's like a we need to find her because we need to finish this thing up. We can't just let her look at us. We can't let her try to cast warp on us. Like, we need to finish this. But they can't. Nobody's done anything. They've destroyed a seat. They've destroyed fucking Irminsul now. Like, so much has happened. And what is one reason why nothing can happen? The guy can't wake up because she's missing. It just makes sense. Holy shit. I'll tell you something. I should have bet on this. I'm pretty sure I literally said a couple weeks ago, if not months ago, when I was talking about Polymarket should open up Genshin lore predictions. Because I would be betting. I said if there's one thing I put my money on, it'd be the fact that the 4 shades together make up the HP. I would put my money on that right now without hesitation. I would do it. I would absolutely do it.
To, or they are a reflection of that person, and in that way are a part of that person, which is part of the reason why I'm so convinced that all 4 shades need to come together to unlock Phanes.
But wait, hold on. So when she was saying earlier about the war. And like them splitting and her, or like Asmodee after the War of Funerary Flame would have been melancholic. Like she would have seen how that all would have played out, acting as though Asmodee was alive during that time, assuming that, you know, they were split and it wasn't just HP and Shades could exist at the same time. Melancholic. And then she went into the slumber because she was so upset about how the humans were treated, whatever. You know, everyone got destroyed. She was really pissed off about it. But what she's actually saying is that, like, no, Asmodee is more so a melancholic part of the HP, who was almost like self-reflecting and being like, wow, so much of my civilization got destroyed. So many people died. So many things happened in my grand experiment, Dottore, that it kind of makes me sad. And so Asmodee represents almost that part of the HP who actually may feel sad. If an AI is able to feel melancholic, if a computer is able to feel sad, but we have to accept that, you know, I don't know if it can though. See, that gets a little tricky there. That's where that would be something I would disagree on. But then I'm just really fighting myself. So for the time being, we'll just say that, yeah, like Asmodee kind of represents the melancholy within the HP. If it is HP splitting into the 4 shades, which we know it does, but if HP splits, then HP doesn't exist, type of deal, you know? 3 she shade equals 1 he. I meant 4 she equals 1 he. Well, yeah, they do say that. That's the other point, is that since they're all female, they said that HP is, what's the word? Androgynous, I think? Androgynous? Yeah, both feminine and masculine. So then it's like, if all the shades are feminine, then them put together would be masculine. You know?
But okay, if the 4 shades are a part of Phanes, then Paimon can actually be a part of Asmodee and still be a part of Phanes, because Asmodee is a part of Phanes, right? It's the same way that Luonatar is part of Columbina. But just because she can be a part of Asmodee doesn't mean that she is a part of Asmodee. And honestly, there are many compelling—
This all started from, Jesus, I just realized, this all started from her trying to explain Paimon equals Asmodee and Phanes. Oh my god, I forgot that's where we started. But that, yeah, I mean, sure, you know what? You know what? Because I feel right now, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm with you. Fuck it. Hey.
Cases against the idea,
I'll
like this
subscribe
one by
to it.
Gonerbits, which argues that Paimon is a fragment of Phanes instead. What I actually like and find funny about this theory is that we have a lot of overlap in the evidence and references that we're using, but we're still drawing opposite conclusions, which I find really fascinating. So,
Oh, she threw that there. 1/5 of what? Oh, yeah, dude. When she assessed Paimon, approximately 1/5. Oh, shit, I forgot about that line, bro. Oh,
what I actually like and find funny about
line.
this theory is that we have a lot of overlap in the evidence and references that we're using, but we're still drawing opposite conclusions, which I find—
And it makes sense why Barbaloth is so standoffish. He's like, ugh.
really fascinating. So this is a great thread to read as a counter argument to my theory, so I'll leave a link in the description for you. But if there are so many compelling cases against the idea that Paimon is part of Asmodee, why insist that she is part of Asmodee? Well, in my opinion, it really has to do with Asmodee's melancholia and Hoyul's repeating theme of imaginary friends. I promise this will make sense in a bit, just stick with me.
Oh, we just got the
Phantasmal
imaginary
Pause
friends.
event, we got to play with the little Hexen Circle and their imaginary friends, and we even got to help them reunite Homura with her lost imaginary friend Popcorn. Now, Homura was a young adult who was extremely excited to land her first job. This was her big
Wobbified,
break,
yeah.
an opportunity to make a name for herself and live out her childhood dreams. But the adult world was unforgiving and exhausting, and before she knew
You're
it, her
fucking
job
telling
stripped her
me.
of her youthful enthusiasm, driving her to a state of melancholy. Eventually, the melancholy overtook her, and she just gave up believing things could ever get better. And it was her imaginary friend Popcorn who reminded her of why she wanted this job in the first place, and what it was like to look at tomorrow and not feel depressed. And you know, imaginary friends in Genshin have
Popcorn.
always kind of confused me. Like, I never really understood what Hoyoverse was trying to say whenever they brought them up. Because, like, the very first time we encountered the concept of an imaginary friend was back in Vendi's story quest. And I can't say it
Oh
made a
my
lot of sense
God.
back then in context. But I think I get it now. Imaginary friends represent childhood. They're the embodiment of that carefree feeling of waking up every day, eager to learn something new or do something fun just for the heck of it. They represent a time when things were simpler, a time when joy came naturally, a
Hell
time
yeah.
when being optimistic felt easy. Growing up means confronting the harsh realities of the real world, and every day we have to choose whether to let those hardships beat us down and force us into melancholy. But the best defense we have against melancholy is joy, and the purest form of joy is found in memories of our childhood. So tapping into our inner child, so to speak, is what encourages us to play and laugh, and that's really
Or rolling 5-star characters in Genshin Impact. That's pretty joyful. I'm not gonna lie to you. A little bit of Gabba to start the day. What do you think, boys?
really important because that
Hey?
joy is what feeds into our hope.
Ain't nothing better than seeing that 5-star light come in real hot. You know, you're 40 poles deep, you hit that 50 pole, and all of a sudden that orange star treads a nice light across your screen. And you're like, holy shit, yes, yes. And then that joy could be instantly destroyed by a loss of a 50-50. But if it's not destroyed by that loss of a 50-50, which mine the majority of the time are. But besides that, if that joy isn't destroyed, then that joy is just glorious. It's one of the best you could feel when that nice new shiny character hits your inventory. I'll tell you something.
That things get
That is
better,
joy.
and it gives us the strength to face tomorrow. But this is kind of what I feel like
Oh,
Paimon is for Asmodee. She's that inner child that Asmodee lost sight of when she succumbed to melancholy and decided to steel herself against the harsh realities of the world. I think that it was around the time of the Cataclysm that Asmodee finally suppressed her inner child so much that it left her completely, and somehow it wound up deep in the ocean until
Oh, wait. Hold on. But she's conquered.
steel herself against the harsh realities of the world. I think that it was around the time of the Cataclysm that
Joy is dopamine? It can be. Dopamine can bring joy. Yeah. Yeah. Even if it's temporary. Tell me you don't feel good in that moment.
Asmodee finally suppressed her inner child so much that it left her completely, and somehow it wound up deep in the ocean until the Traveler fished it up. And it's not lost on me that this is the exact same situation that Skirk.
But, hold on. I mean, I guess the Cataclysm, it didn't all happen at literally in like one day. You know what I mean? Like the Cataclysm lasted, I don't know how long. How long did it like technically last for? But it had to have been over a period of time, right? So I guess within that time, if like, let's say beginning a Cataclysm, let's say the Cataclysm was 30 days, right? Day 1 is when HP split himself up. Then over those like 30 days is when Asmodee went through this period of like experiencing that melancholy split of HP, and then decided to extra split herself off into Paimon.
Found herself in. While she was once young and full of optimism, she
Right?
suppressed much that it left her completely of the world. I think that it was around the time of the Cataclysm that Asmodee finally suppressed her inner child.
Because, I mean, yeah, her even saying it like that, though, it doesn't make sense. Because she's saying that, I mean, earlier she was just saying that they split. They split off at the Cataclysm time. or like HP split at that time. It was long, yeah. But to lead up to it like that, to say it must have been around the time of the Cataclysm, like that would have been when she was technically born. Asmodee would have been born at that time. You know what I mean? So it's like when she's saying it like that, it makes it sound like leading up, or like she lived before that time. I don't know. I think a wording here is a little weird based on what she just said about the shades being a split of HP, but it's weird saying split of HP because we know it's a split of HP, but it's a split without HP still existing, is what the theory is.
Child so much that it.
What do you call that? What's the how do you define that? Like there's got to be another word besides split that we could use. I don't know.
Left her completely, and somehow it wound up deep in the ocean until the traveler fished it up. And it's not lost on me that this is the exact same situation that Skirk found herself in. While she was once young and full of optimism, she suppressed her childhood memories and feelings so that she could become numb to the real world and just focus on her goals. But forcing herself to forget her childhood memories was making her weaker. And it was only after reuniting with her inner child that she found new strength. And like I said in the Traveler's character story, it says the Keeper, or rather the Sustainer, is fading. Like Skirk, she's getting weaker. And I really don't think this is too much of a coincidental comparison to make. Because, like, Skirk is an Outlander trained by Sertology, who is the abyssal equivalent of the Space Shade. That feels really intentional to me, you know? And I've mentioned this a few times before, but Asmodee Outlander trained by Sertology, who is the abyssal equivalent of the Space Shade. That feels really intentional to me, you know? And I've mentioned this a few times before, but Asmodee doesn't bear the same symbolism as the other shades do. She most notably lacks both a halo and a triquetra in her design, but Paimon has both, while also having some design elements that match the architecture of the Temple of Space. To me at least, Asmodee's lack of halo and triquetra is symbolic of her casting off her attachment to Phanes and her former role as a shade. It represents her suppressing her younger, naive self in an effort to prepare for the challenges that she must face and the sacrifices she may have to make. Now, you can argue that triquetras just aren't associated with the theme of space, but that's not entirely true. I mean, sure, a four-pointed star is more indicative of space-time vectors and directionality than a triquetra is, but the space cube within the Temple of Space is white with a triquetra on it. So it references Paimon more than Asmodee. And I know a lot of people are going to point out the fact that in TCG, the Omni element is also a white triquetra symbol with a...
When HP split to HPE and HP proper. One is Enterprise and the other is Retail. So a spinoff? Yeah, that works. Which one's fucking which? HPE8... Oh, fuck. But which one's the, oh shit. Which one's the split without the thing still left?
Holographic rainbow effect, and even that supports this idea. If each element is a color of the rainbow, then the rainbow is a form that contains all other forms. That's effectively a type of Metatron cube. Also note that Metatron was God's scribe, and Paimon takes notes for the Traveler, the one who has the potential to ascend to the throne of God as the fourth descender. And we also have to note that Paimon didn't get cubed and warped to the apathic interval during the Temple of Space quest. And I think the reason for this is because she's actually the relinquished memories of Asmodee. So she's not a person who needs to give something up. She's a thing that was given up. And they kind of allude to this in the quest dialogue in a kind of roundabout way when they say, well, maybe Paimon's head is just empty, so there's nothing she has to give up. If she's the thing that was given up, there's nothing she has to give up. Now, is there? And as I mentioned in part 1, there are actually two endings to Vera's melancholy. One of them ends with Vera alone in her hometown waiting for her happiness to return to her. And the other happier one ends with Ike hunting down another version of himself so that they may become a single person. And I think in a loose allegorical way, each ending mirrors a possible path that Asmodee could take. If Asmodee refuses to embrace her imaginary friend, so to speak, she will end up like the Vera in the bad ending. She'll be stuck in her temple waiting for a brighter future that may never arrive while she wastes away to nothing. But if she accepts her inner child as—
Dude, wait a minute. This is literally like the choice that Cyrene made, actually. Or well, you could say, I argue that we made too. But literally, it's like if Cyrene could have chosen to or well, was it? No, that was more so. It was kind of more so us. We could have chosen to kind of stop there and be a part of Cyrene's story forever. Ending of the story of HSR would have been in Remembrance, you know, the icy fear, the Remembrance, right? Or we continue to trailblaze and move past this. Yep, I got you. And move past this, like, point of just hitting Remembrance and for the universe freezing over. This is kind of that same idea where if she would have just embraced her inner childhood and kind of stayed here, she would have just been caught in this kind of trap, this Remembrance trap, right? But instead, she decided not to and decided to continue on. I don't think it's Cyrene's choice, because Cyrene actually chose to stay and keep the loop going. It was more so our choice when we were talking to Noose. I just had to remember for a second. We were actually talking to Noose and we were like, trailblaze, you know what I mean? Like, I think still in that part that we chose first and then Cyrene had the choice after. Like, we could have chosen to stay with Cyrene in Amphorius and that would have been the actual end of the universe, like just caught in the Remembrance loop forever. That would have been the end of the universe, whatever, right? But we continued to trailblaze. And right here, Asmodee, or at least what she's saying,
allegorical way, each ending mirrors a possible path that Asmodee could take. If Asmodee refuses to embrace her imaginary friend, so to speak, she will end up like the Vera in the bad ending. She'll be stuck in her temple waiting for a brighter future that may never arrive.
Like, that is actually what Cyrene did. She decided to stay in her temple for the ending, which we did end up arriving. We did end up arriving, actually. But Asmodee isn't choosing that choice. She's not choosing to stay in the temple. We didn't choose to stay with Cyrene, who you could argue would be our imaginary friend in this case. No, we decided, nope, Cyrene, sorry, you're looping and we're continuing on.
While she wastes away to nothing.
It's
but
both
if she
choices
accepts
at the
her
same
inner
time.
child
Like,
as part of her once again, the way that Skirk and Homura and Ike did, then maybe she, like Ike, can boldly declare that she loves the world and everything in it from the heart of the world in the Temple of Space.
Or wait, did I say chooses to be with her imaginary
person they could take? If Asmodee refuses to embrace her imaginary friend, so to speak, she will end up like the Vera in the bad ending. She'll be stuck in her temple waiting for a brighter future that may never arrive while she wastes away to nothing. But if she accepts her inner child as part of her once again, the way that Skirk and Homura and Ike did, then maybe she, like Ike, can boldly declare that she loves the world and everything in it from the heart of the world in the Temple of Space. But when we talk about fusing with another version of yourself or accepting a part of yourself that you once rejected—
Not exactly a one-to-one, but it's kind of cool. You can see the similarities. At least, like, I could see the similarities. Like, you have that choice of just sticking there and being stuck with that or continuing on.
We should probably revisit that concept of the shadow self found in Jungian psychology, because that opens up a couple of weird but cool narrative possibilities. See, Jung believed that accepting or merging with one's shadow came with risks, for a shadow once assimilated can overpower or even overwrite the ego self, the conscious self. In other words, by attempting to accept your shadow as part of yourself, you can lose yourself to the shadow.
Asmodee with
Durin
Paimon
is actually a pretty good example of this, because Mini Durin is essentially the inner child Big Durin never had, and when the two fused, Big Durin was overwritten, or at least they were overpowered. Now, you can actually argue that Big Durin is is the shadow in this case. But regardless, in my opinion, it doesn't actually matter which one is the shadow and which one is the original ego, because both have the power to play the role of either the shadow or the ego. The ego is just what we call the winner. Now, you can't really talk about Durin without talking about alchemy, because that is how Big Durin was made, and his source material was actually abyssal material, Nigredo. And this gets really interesting because Carl Jung was a big proponent of spiritual alchemy, and in Jungian spiritual alchemy, the magnum opus is a means to make yourself whole by accepting and integrating all aspects of yourself into a singular self. So it's the process by which one fuses safely with the shadow self. This alchemical process is actually what happened when Albedo forcefully fused Mini Durin with Big Durin. Albedo fused the shadow self with the ego. And this process of achieving the magnum opus of spiritual alchemy, especially within the realm of Jungian psychology, requires the same four processes that physical or hermetic alchemy does: Nigredo, Albedo, Citrinitas, and Rubido. And while this physical hermetic Nigredo refers to the dark soil or source material or clay, as we talked about earlier, the spiritual Nigredo refers to one's melancholy. And Big Durin, who was made of Nigredo, was certainly melancholic. In that context, it is very interesting that Barbeloth calls the Abyss, or rather Nigredo, resentful. It's quite likely she's picking up on its connection to melancholy, the black bile or the negative emotions of the self. And it's these dark waves of emotion that needs to be tempered by using the processes of spiritual alchemy, moving one from the Nigredo or melancholic stage to the Rubido stage, the stage of elation or joy.
Elation?
That's what Mini Durin was to Big Durin, and that's what I think Paimon is to Asmodee. She's Asmodee's missing joy, her inner child, and her ability to love. So I think it's very possible that Asmodee has the potential to become, or at least replace, Phanes. And this might even be a necessity because according to Nouvelette's character stories, after the War of Funerary Flame, Phanes lost some of their important functions. And I'm starting to wonder if that function was the capacity to love Tevat and all the people in it. You remember how I said being a descender may require
if you don't have your will
to
anymore.
care about or love the world that you're in?
Or
Well, if Phanes, as the first descender, doesn't love anymore, then they've lost their descender power.
See, I don't know. I can't subscribe to the compassion thing. I can't. I feel like that. I mean, I guess it could play a role, but like, is it that important? Because how was his love for Tevat? Like, our goal was our sibling too, and his love for, not Tevat, his love for Conria was pretty damn strong too. But we both have the goal of wanting to see our sibling. Like, how can we still be it? And he's not. I don't.
Now, I think that if Paimon eventually does merge with Asmodee, if she is the inner child and the shadow self, then...
Dude, I can't even like honestly think about this for a second. We've seen so much in this goddamn game. Now imagine for a second, in 3 months. In 3 months, we're in what? Probably 7.1? Maybe 4 months, 5 months, half a year from now. All of a sudden, Paimon is literally merging with Asmodee. What the fuck? Like, think about, like, what the fuck is... everyone's gonna be shook, bro. Like, how the... what? I mean, I don't think it'll be 6 months, but even a year from now, bro, just imagine that. Imagine for a second on your screen playing Genshin Impact and Paimon merges with Asmodee on your screen. I can't even fathom that. I can't. That would be insane.
She has the potential to be like Durin and become the true self of Asmodee. So Asmodee would become Paimon. And because Asmodee is one of the shadow selves of Phanes alongside...
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying now. So it's like Paimon overwrites Asmodee, and then Asmodee is Paimon, but then Paimon, who is now Asmodee, then overwrites Phanes?
The other three, I think it's very possible that if those four shades combine, Paimon would become the front-facing ego self of the new Phanes.
So we have to kill Paimon, is what you're saying. Paimon is the final boss? Paimon, we should have eaten her. I'm gonna be honest. We should have eaten that little lavender melon. Let me tell you something. So Paimon would overwrite Asmodee, and then Asmodee merging with the other three shades, Paimon would be the front-facing side of Phanes. Did she say exactly why? Hold on, I'm gonna rewind for a second. Because did she say exactly why she or why Asmodee, I think she did, got rid of this part?
In common. They are all either containing a key aspect of the person they belong to, or they are a reflection of that person, and in that way are a part of that person. Which is part of the reason why I'm so convinced that all four shades need to come together to unlock part of Asmodee is part I find funny about as a counter argument to my theory. It really has to do with Asmodee's melancholia and Hoyul's repeating theme of imaginary friend with her lost imaginary friend Popcorn. Now the job I can't say it made ends reputable things were easy. But of joy is found as a face tomorrow. That inner child that Asmodee of what I feel like Paimon is for Asmodee. She's that inner child that Asmodee lost
where the
sight
hell
of when
was
she
it?
boxed it so they couldn't use it. Whatever the reason, they eventually reached the firmament. And with her, they dealt with the fallout of the cataclysm while the traveler 100 years. And that important something is the creation of Paimon at this time. And that important something is the creation of Paimon. It's her age. Paimon's time of I can personally argue both sides here. And in fact, I might correct that Phanes was a god of creation. It his four goddess.
Where was it?
Is the same four concepts governed by ways. That awakens a new to create a fifth power, and right now is that one of the shades, Asmodee, is missing. And I really think it's possible that Phanes isn't waking up because Asmodee is up, burning down up. And if not aspects of Columbina, nor are they really. Phanes appears alone, according to Before Sun and Moon, and knows on countless things such as the shape of Egyptian mythology, which are either containing a key aspect of the person they belong to, or they are a reflection of that person, and in that way are a part of that person, which is part of the reason why I'm so convinced that all four shades need to come together to unlock Phanes. But okay, if the four shades are a part of Phanes, then Paimon can actually be a part of Asmodee and still be a part of Phanes, because Asmodee is a part of Phanes, right? It's the same way that Luona doesn't mean that she is a part of Asmodee, and honestly, there are many compelling cases against the idea, like this one by Gonerbits, which argues that Paimon is a fragment of Phanes instead of references that we're using, but we're still drawing opposite conclusions, which I find in the description for you. But if there are so many compelling cases against the idea that Paimon is part of Asmodee, it has to do with Asmodee's melancholia, and with me. During the Phantasmal Pelton, was like to friend was back in Vendi's story now. Imaginary being optimistic and the purest chart gives us the strength to face tomorrow. The child that Asmodee lost sight of when she succumbed to melancholy and decided to steel herself against the harsh realities of the world. I think that it was around the time of the Cataclysm that Asmodee finally suppressed her inner child so much that it left her completely. And somehow it wound up deep in the ocean until the Traveler fished it up.
Oh, right. She suppressed it so much that it kind of just fell out of her. She didn't, like, purposely get rid of it. It's similar to Skirk. Skirk suppressed it so much that it kind of just got lost upon her, and it wasn't until we had that quest with Skirk that she found it again and then continued to get stronger. That's right. Okay, I remember now. Okay.
Dark waves of emotion that needs to be tempered by using the processes of spiritual alchemy. Moving one from that might even be a necessity because there may require you to care about or love the world that you're in. Well, if Phanes, as the first Descender, doesn't love anymore, then they've lost their Descender power. Now, I think that if Paimon eventually does merge with Asmodee, if she is the inner child and the shadow self, then she has the potential to be like Durin and become the true self of Asmodee. So Asmodee would become Paimon, and because Asmodee is one of the shadow selves of Phanes alongside the other three, I think it's very possible that if those four shades combine, Paimon would become the front-facing ego self of the new Phanes, thus restoring their capacity to love Teyvat. In recent quests especially,
I mean, shit. Paimon does love Teyvat. She loves this place, man.
One has been plagued by this anxiety that she's useless. And to some extent
Well,
she is. I mean, she can't
I
really
didn't say
fight.
it.
She's not extremely
I
smart.
didn't
She
say
doesn't
it.
have any real special powers to speak of. But we can say the same thing about our inner child and our ability to love and hope and be optimistic. Those feelings and memories don't give us any special powers, and yet we still value them above everything else. I think I'm gonna start calling these closing segments unwanted encores because I still have more to say and nowhere to say them. Like, technically I've mentioned this in another video, but Asmodee is named after the demon Asmodeus, but Asmodeus was the demon of love, lust, and revenge. Our Asmodee only appears to have the revenge aspect, so it'd be very fitting if Paimon had the love aspect. Similarly, Asmodeus is known for having been trapped in a box, wrapped in chains, and buried at the bottom of the ocean. Where did we get Paimon? At the bottom of the ocean. And Asmodee also guided a prince through the 7 layers of hell, the same way Paimon is guiding the traveler through the 7 regions of Teyvat plus Naut Cry. Also, while writing this and mulling over the
plus Naut Cry
concept of Tethata in Hoyo games, I was reminded of the cocoon of finality from Honkai Impact and how it embodied the same concept of Tethata. Fittingly, the main character of Honkai Impact, Kiana, starts off as the Hersher of the Void. And the Hersher of the Void is the likely origin point of Asmodee, at least conceptually, because Asmodee has the power title and shares a lot of her design elements with the Hersher of the Void. Now, throughout her journey, Kiana battles with this sort of alternate personality that she has, this Hersher of the Void. It's almost like a shadow self, if you will. And after she'd conquered it, she was able to embrace the cocoon of finality and become the Hersher of finality. And finality in this case is totality, or Tethata. Now, Paimon also shares a lot of Kiana's childish, optimistic, and hungry personality traits while also looking a lot like her as well, at least as she was a toddler. And when you combine all those aspects, you can kind of see how Hoyo could be attempting a remixed version of a Kiana-esque story here. And there is so much more to this, but I'm just gonna have to do like a full-blown Enochian deep dive at some point. Also, apologies if I sound weird in this video. I've been very congested and I keep losing my voice, so it's been a bit of a struggle to record for long periods.
Shit, I
so
wouldn't
today
even know.
especially, I really want to say thank you for everyone for being so patient and supportive
exactly
during this
the
time
same.
where I've had these long gaps of nothing to share. Your support really does mean the world.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Temple of Space had a lot in it, and I appreciate Ashkai taking the time to put her thoughts out there about this stuff, because I think a lot of people have been waiting on this one. There was a lot in there, dude. And to get like other people's opinions, especially people's opinions like hers, who has been like right a lot of the time. Like more times than not, I should say. Like just everyone's wrong sometimes, right? But like she gets things, she pays attention, she gets things right. So it's like people looking out for that person, man, who's right with these things. That's why I feel so good about her saying the fact that the shades are split and forming will form the HP, because I know she's right about things a lot of the time. So that makes me feel like I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit. And the fact I've always been saying this, like, I'm not just saying it, I've been saying this. It makes me feel right. And Paimon, it's not completely go to Cyrene, because in Demiurge, that was a repeat. I don't think we're in a, I mean, we're in cycles, but we're not like in a single cycle.
To me. So thank you for supporting, thank you for being patient, thank you for watching, and please, please, please drink your fluids, wash your hands, and do not let the sickness find you. It sucks. And one victim is enough. Wishing you all the best, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Huge. That was absolutely massive. Paimon banner 8.0. Confirmed. Paimon banner 8.0. Amber is not Kiana. I don't know who Kiana actually is because I didn't play that. But I'll tell you, Amber ain't her. I can tell you that much. Predictor. Your Kevin Kazlana variant in Genshin? Shit. Shit. Maybe you already got it and you just don't know. Maybe you already got it. That was good. That was great. I feel fucking right, dude. I just feel right.
I promise this will.
And that is why I was told to watch this, I guess. I keep calling you Predictor because you're Predictor, buddy. You want to know why I keep calling you Predictor? I'll show. Because if I go to your channel... Oh, you made a whole different account? You made a completely different account? Why would you made a whole nother account, buddy? I thought I was gonna go to your channel and there was gonna be the HS or the HI3 playlist of trailers to watch. Your account was literally made when this video came out. I could see it. I could see it, Predictor. That's you, buddy. You're not fooling a soul. Oh, man. Oh, man. Year 1, main theory is Paimon sus. Year 6, main theory is Paimon sus. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, goddamn. That is, I'm solid with this. This is solid. This is solid. All right, Predictor. I predict that Summer's live not at play is the Predictor. That's my prediction. I'll tell you that much. Okay. I know it's you, buddy. You're not fooling a soul. Okay. Well, I think that does it. That was fun. I feel good. I feel like we got a lot of info. And we need part 3 like yesterday, Ash Guy, I'm gonna be honest with you. We need part 3 yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I don't know how much more you could break down from that place, man. I mean, how much more can we break down Asmodee until we get more information? I mean, if she wants to go off about another part of that place, I'm sure she can go off about another part of that place. But, like, to go into more Asmodee stuff, we really didn't get that much more about her. I feel like she covered everything she possibly can when it comes to Asmodee. In that area, to be honest. W. Alright, well, thanks, Ash Guy. And if you haven't already, go like her video, because that was great. That was great. But yeah, that does it for me. So, I will be back tomorrow doing... I don't know what. I don't know what. Maybe... Honestly, I think we're just gonna do Arknights tomorrow, if I'm being honest. I think Arknights tomorrow. We got a lot of lore reacts in today, so that's good. Maybe we'll watch some more tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. Alright. I'm gone. Peace out.